Hello and good evening, everybody out there on the interwebs. Welcome back to week 2 of Style Esports Season 17. A couple of teams are about to take to the Rift for the first time this season. They have a brand spanking new patch on which to do it, and they've got myself, Crewman44, and my friend Abbott Trombone to shout about it. Glacial Mafia versus Planetary Collision Esports Uranus. Bit of a mouthful there. But that's who we've got to start off our coverage of Season 17. Abba, how you feeling tonight? How's life treating you?
I'm feeling I'm feeling pretty good tonight here. We got the third and fourth seed teams here for season 17, so it should be pretty high end. A lot of these players are hitting high emerald up to the masters rank, so there's going to be some exciting matchups between the two. And I look forward to that, especially with these new patch notes.
Oh yeah, always happy to see some high level League of Legends. The lower level stuff can be fun too, but in terms of what we all aspire to perform in our own games, having the high level stuff to take a more of a critical eye to is always nice, I think. And as you just mentioned, Abba, yeah, new patch just came out last night, and it is a little bit of a doozy. Whole bunch of changes in this one. Anything in particular that's caught your eye, Abba?
I mean, the Jinx ones kind of changed things up for me a little bit as someone who used to play her a decent amount. Her ultimate's going to do a little bit more damage, has a little bit fewer cooldown, and she has something that I'm not quite sure about how her passive works now. It's got stacks and stacks, 25% bonus total attack speed gained from the get excited on takedown stacks. Yeah. Not sure how that's going to turn out or what they're trying to get at there. I think it was a little wordy.
Yeah, I mean, as
so
far
it looks
as
like some of the lethality items also into one.
Yeah, some changes to the lethality items. Oh, do we have some lag on the mics? Maybe,
yeah, some of the lethality items. Yeah, I think just a little bit of lag in the mic, maybe on my end. That or the brain.
Well, hopefully those issues do sort themselves out. Both the technical ones and the brain ones. Both can be a little bit difficult to be sure. But yeah, the Jinx changes are definitely interesting. Obviously she was nerfed reasonably hard after her prominence at the beginning of the year, and then they're clearly now trying to bring her back a little bit into the meta. But that change does seem a little bit scary, to be honest. If that stacks per takedown, we're talking about some pretty stupid amounts of attack speed there, potentially. So we'll have to see if Jinx is going to be making her way onto the Rift tonight. We do also still have to contend with the Kaisas and the Zayas of the world, one of which received a bit of a minor, a glancing blow from the nerf pad, we could say.
Yeah, Kaisa has 3 less armor now. I don't think that's going to make a super big difference. It just means
I'm sure she's really
sad. Like Caitlyn might be able to do a little bit more harassment, but yeah. Her supports that she pairs with are good right now, and she can really just capitalize on this. And I've even seen like AP builds do pretty well with her. So it's not like any of these other item changes are going to really adapt her gameplay at all.
All right, looks like we're going to be getting into this draft pretty soon now, guys. Going to be able to get onto into this first game, our first cast of Season 17 here, Abba. It'll be interesting to see what the teams are going to be bringing out here on the brand new patch that we've just been discussing. There has, of course, been Worlds happening as well. Have you been able to catch any of that Worlds action?
I have not been doing that. I've been a little bit busy, but I've heard great things.
You heard great things about the Worlds coverage, did you?
Yeah, just, it's more League of Legends. You get to see some high-end play, try and adapt into your own games, and, just overall try and beat that grind set in ranked.
I mean, it's not as exciting as, of course, what we have here in the Style Esports League. I mean, it's no Uranus versus Glacial Mafia here, but those World Championships, can be worthwhile as well.
It's Style Esports and then Worlds. That's the order in which you get your quality.
Right. As common knowledge, really.
Common knowledge.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see, over there at the World Championship, they are obviously still playing on 13. I believe it's 1319 is the world's patch. So, they're one patch removed from us now, but a lot of those champions are going to translate reasonably well. We've been seeing pretty high priority on the Orianas, on the Kaisas, of course, on the staple junglers, the Sejuanis, the Maokais. Rumble's been fairly popular. The Renekton, of course, still very popular up there in the pro meta. Lots of pretty powerful champions these days that can be looked towards. Looks like it's going to be Planetary, our celestial bodies, going to be on the blue side here for game number 1, Abba. What kind of pick do you think we might see here on B number 1? Either, looking at any of these individual players on something that maybe one of their players is really comfortable on, like any one tricks that we have in the lobby, or anything that you just feel is maybe a cut above in the meta, especially on this newest patch?
Well, I always say comfort is king, but when you start getting up to this higher level play, a lot of the fundamentals start kind of overlapping into a lot of these champions here. So I think anyone that can utilize the jungler pretty well for their team compositions, and rotate either with a good middle laner to really create some good vision for their team and some good plays on top of that, or just being able to have a decent matchup in your lanes, which can transition to whatever win condition you want, whether that be jungle, AD carry, or just like a split push top laner. Just being able to finding some good enablers for that.
Yeah, certainly. Hard to predict, though, who that enabler is actually going to be. There are a decent number of champions, that we can look towards that are pretty high priority right now. It's not, I remember earlier, several patches ago now, when it was actually just like you're either banned Kai'Sa or you picked Kai'Sa B1 or you lost the game. Like, that was not too long ago, but that does not really feel like it's the case at the current time.
I think AD carry is still in a pretty strong spot. I mean, we did talk about or briefly touch on there were some lethality nerfs, which really hits AD carry pretty hard because you don't have that much armor and you're not necessarily building that much armor, provided you get like a Guardian's Angel or some other item that produces some of that. That's not as common. Still pretty good, and in coordinated play, you can really use the power structure that they can get their farm more consistently, and they're not going to be fighting over a lane farm like you might be in solo queue. You're just able to coordinate with your laners a little bit more and your junglers more importantly as well, and they can just dish out the damage that's needed. And I think item wise, I don't think they're in too bad of a spot right now.
It actually seems, unfortunately, Abba, that we did miss a little bit of the draft. I had a faulty link that I was working with here. So unfortunately, not able to get a look at those first few picks as they were coming in. But we do have that now, guys, so I can go ahead and bring that up on the stream momentarily. Please do bear with me. We will be getting into it here. Like I believe I briefly mentioned before, we do have the Planetary Colliders over here on the blue side and Glacial Mafia on the red side. Jarvan appears to have been the B1 selection, Abba. The Tristana Rakan coming out in response.
Oh.
Do you have the draft link, Abba?
I don't have the draft link at all.
I will send it to you. They just posted the correct one over here in the client chat just a moment ago, but I'll go ahead and DM it to you as well. Oh dear.
Sounds good.
I see.
Yeah, so Jarvan is a pretty good enabler as a jungle. He could just kind of get in, get out, flag and drag, really help out his team here. Of course, doesn't necessarily pair the best with Nautilus because Cataclysm is terrain that he can interact with, but does interact pretty well with Ziggs, who did get a bit of a buff. His AoE from his Q is upped by 30 units, and his ultimate, if he's in some sort of crowd control of their opponent, you're able to get that center and get that extra damage in here as well. That being said, Rakan and Tristana can just kind of ignore that as well, and if Maokai has an opponent to go under, he can just ignore that as well. Not that you're necessarily going to be targeting the tank.
I just tried inviting you back to the lobby, Abba. Did that work out for you, or did you get that invite?
I did not see that invite. Probably
Pending
just
then on that. What was the plan there?
I can either just watch off your stream, or I can just go on a slight delay after the play-by-play on Twitch.
Yeah, I could try sharing my screen for you. I guess that's fine. Yeah, because the lobby is the same. It's doing that weird thing where somebody who leaves can't come back, I guess. I don't really know. But
Yeah, I couldn't move into spectator for a little bit. It was super glitched, even though there was a slot open, so they just kicked me out, which is fine.
good old client doing
Yep,
its work for us as usual.
Good old League of Legends. Now, let's get back into this draft here. We've got some nice carries here, Tristana and Ziggs, and plenty of enablers on both sides, jungle and support each. And Ziggs can go for mid or into the bot side, but might just be there to harass Tristana. So we're going to have to see what they're going to be pairing things up for. My guess is Mafia is going to be saving their last pick for top for its counter matchup. So this is probably going to be a mid laner, and it looks like that's going to be the case with Xerath. I like this pick. Just going to be able to harass some of these engaged laners, Nautilus or Jarvan. If they can't find an angle, Xerath can just pump out the damage, just poke them, hit them, make it harder for them to engage. The lower their health is, the less likely is it's going to be able to get those fights started if they're going to be around Dragon or Baron or any other objective that they're trying to capture.
Oh, absolutely. Going to make that a little bit more difficult. This could be an interesting selection here. You did briefly, I'm not sure if this was on stream or not, actually, Abba, but the auction was adjusted here on 1320. I believe there were some slight nerfs to the early game.
Yeah, so his bonus movement speed from Q is going from 40% to 20 to 40% scaling per skill point, and then his E, his heroic swing, is getting a slight reduction. So instead of starting at 30 and scaling up to 90, you're starting at 25, scaling up to 85. And it looks like to be the same scaler, that 17.5% AD plus a 0.3 per 100% bonus attack speed. So just all around going to be doing a little less damage there, which I don't think anyone's going to be minding at all. He still has that revive mechanic. Pretty devastating should it come off.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to get the visually updated Jax in here as well. Very, very exciting. Yeah. Shen?
Okay.
Shen, Abba.
So hear me out. Shen is going to be able to be around the map. They're going to be able to stand united. If Rakan gets a nice angle and jumps in, Shen can come and be a backup and then further his engage with his dash. Same with Maokai. His taunt can also keep people in line for Maokai's engage as a follow-up with his ultimate. That being said, Tristana can also jump in with a rocket jump. Got a big range to it. Shen can come in to bail them out or continue the fight longer than you would normally expect.
Yeah, certainly. That is what Shen can do. He can be very powerful in sort of the right situations. I watched something not too long ago. It was probably on Reddit, but it was like this old school Shen main who was trying to organize a Shen boycott. Did you see this, Abba?
I did not.
You didn't see this? Okay. Well, apparently the Shen community has been up in arms recently. I mean, I guess this is relatively common across different champion communities, but they've been particularly upset recently about the state of their champion, saying that he is just unfun to play. They took away a lot of what made Shen good. He used to be pretty prominent in lane. He used to have a good number of winning matchups. Apparently those days are behind him. He no longer has winning matchups in lane, and he is pretty much just an old bot is kind of the consensus of that Shen community at the moment, apparently, from what I've heard. As not a member of the Shen community myself, so this is all hearsay. Bear that in mind. But
Shen does have a couple things going for him in this matchup. He does get to ignore some auto attacks, so Jax really does like that. So some of these trades could be favorable for him. Shen also uses energy rather than mana. So some of these trades, if Jax doesn't manage his mana pretty well, this means it's going to be a little bit more free than Jax might like for some of these trades as well. That being said, doesn't have some of that AoE damage like Counter-Strike does, so pushing in the wave might be a little bit of contention. It does bring the question, though, what summoners Jax is going to be forced to bring here. Does he need the teleport for following up whatever Shen's going to be doing whenever he does Stand United, or is he going to be more of an aggressive, getting that Ignite, Flash Ignite set up there, or is there going to be like a hybrid teleport Ignite here to follow up and then get some of that damage done in lane, do some harassment, because it's Jax. He can get into some targets.
Yeah, definitely. We did see a little bit of Jax coming out at Worlds already as well, I believe. I'm not quite remembering who played it right now, but you know, he's obviously a relatively meta pick. It's gonna be very interesting to see how that top lane goes, I think, because the Jax, like you say, Abba, can be a little bit of a threat, especially once we get later into the game. You know, can be very, very tricky to deal with, particularly in those side lanes. So yeah, we'll see if the Shen is going to be able to keep a lid on him, or if that is going to become a little bit of a problem for the Glacial Mafia. But there are certainly a number of exciting lanes that we can kind of look towards here. And, you know, we could potentially be seeing a pretty explosive early game. Could go the other way as well. What are your expectations for this early game, Abba?
Well, it's going to be a little bit slower than normal because a lot of the starting items did get some notable changes to them, which
I didn't get that far in the patch notes.
Yeah, it's right after those nasty jungle changes. So
oh no,
here I'll just give you a little bit of a highlight as to what we're talking about here. So like Dorian's Blade, for example, is getting an extra 2 AD and 20 health. So you're just going to be overall healthier for this. The extra AD obviously going to help with the lifesteal, and just the extra 20 hit points is just going to get you a lot more value for your gold. Dorian's Ring is also getting another 20 health. Dorian's Shield is getting 30 health. And Dark Seal is also getting 10 health. So you're just going to be a little bit more healthy. You're going to be able to survive a little bit more harassment. So like we were joking about like that extra 3 armor being removed from Kaisa. With changes like that, it's not going to really matter that much. You're just going to be healthier overall.
Yeah, definitely the case. Kaisa, of course, not making an appearance in this game number 1, though, so that is not something that we will have to worry about just yet. We are a minute down on our spectator delay already, Abba. Before we go to break, I do want to get that quick prediction from you. Do you like either one of these compositions better? Which team do you feel like has an edge here in the drafting phase for game 1?
I feel like they both have pretty good ideas on what they want to be doing here. I think I like Uranus's just a little bit more. Nautilus can have some pretty devastating engages, and if Tristana does not position pretty well, she can accidentally really set up a combo if she rocket jumps wrong, as well as there's just so much good follow-up, and I think individual matchups for Uranus that are just good enough to give them an edge.
Yeah, it does feel like there's a little bit more firepower on the side of Uranus with this composition, and it does feel like it is a lot of the damage burden of doing the damage in the fight is going to be on the Tristana over here on the other side. So we will have to wait and see if the Glacial Mafia ADC is going to be able to have that pop-off performance and get the team their first win, or if the Planetary Collision Esports Uranus will be able to make it happen with a little bit of a more aggressive composition here with the V1 Jarvan and the Akshan in the mid lane. Week 2 of Style Esports Season 17, guys, going to be continuing right after this. Don't go anywhere. All right, everybody, welcome on to the Rift for the first time here on 1320. Dredgeline just going wide there for Dim 99999999999999999. Not quite going to be able to find that first skill shot.
Yeah, it just happens. They try to do a nice stack, try and get that Jax up there. It looks like Lemon Poet ended up going for that teleport there. They didn't end up going for any sort of ignite setup.
Lethal tempo as well on the Jax. So that is an interesting option. I want to say that's kind of the more aggressive rune choice, interestingly, paired alongside the more defensive summoner spell option. Would you do you think there's a more aggressive rune that Jax could go as opposed to the lethal tempo? Or what are your thoughts there?
I don't think there would be, because Conqueror's kind of in that same boat, but I think lethal tempo is just overall better for him.
It's definitely stronger early game is the lethal tempo.
Yeah. It does give that kind of highlight that we see a lot in top lane. Long trade versus short trade with Grasp of the Undying. Nice little trade up there, being able to walk away.
Yeah. Adam, of course, playing the lethal tempo Darius earlier today. Finding some success with that in game number 1. And then we had our little bit of catharsis after that, which was pretty nice. But let's turn our attention back towards the game at hand here, Abba. We do have our jungler starting on opposite sides of the map. So our Jarvan, our patented early game jungler Jarvan, is going to be pathing up towards this top lane. And Maokai going to be potentially angling towards this bottom side around that 330 mark.
Yeah, I kind of like how both these junglers are starting up here. They kind of want Poet to have a little bit of an edge here, because if the Shen here, Arc, isn't able to get any good ultimates down, especially with Counter-Strike being able to stop it, with Jax just being able to go in and harass him and make him kind of weak for any follow-up engages, it's a pretty good strategy. And of course, ranking of Toe going towards the bot side, getting their Tristana is also pretty important, because if that doesn't work out, they can always go to July 8, who is also going to be the other source of damage for their team on the AP side of the equation.
Yeah, certainly the case. We'll see if the Maokai is going to be successful. You know, just have that little bit of setup, at least from the Rakan, theoretically. So we'll see if that does end up being successful. What were you going to say, Abby?
The downside of it is Tristana naturally pushes because of her E passive. Yeah. So if you're not careful, and you don't want to be setting up a dive against Nautilus this early, so you have to be really careful with your wave management. The upside is they're against Ziggs. They both love bombs and explosives, so wave is in a pretty neutral state right now from what I'm seeing.
Yeah. Honestly, it is interesting to see the Ziggs and the Tristana facing off against one another. It's always really terrifying for me when I see them on the same team. They can be really, really oppressive at taking down structures in that sort of scenario. But now it feels very fair, right? You know, both teams have a turret one-shotter on their side, and it's going to be about which turret one-shotter is actually going to be able to find themselves in a position to one-shot those turrets more frequently.
Yeah, and right now it looks like Gamer here is in a bit of a better position. They haven't used any mana at all, but their opposing laner is pretty low. They do have teleport to help recuperate some of that and really get that down.
Oh, Lemon Poet is going very, very low right now in this top lane. The Jax does still have the flash. This wave is very awkward right now, though, for the Lemon Poet. And Maokai is going to be on the top side of the map as well. So the Jax, if he knows what's good for him, is going to have to play back off the wave here and have to cede some control over this lane to the Shen, who's already up about a wave in CS.
Yeah, they've been trading a little bit greedily into the minions, so they've been taking some of that harass as well. It's nice when you have Counter-Strike because you get to dish that damage out, but post-Counter-Strike, not quite as nice here. And like I was saying, they're a mana champ. If they don't manage this, it's going to make these trades harder and harder for them. And Grasp is also going to be helping heal Arc 8 as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That definitely the more defensive rune option for the Glacial. I believe it is actually Glacial on red side. I think my my overlay is wrong. Oh, hang on a second. Actually, we've got a little bit of action coming out here as Dim9 is going to be able to back away. Katsuna forced to flash there on the Ziggs. Here comes Woolen now, trying to turn this play around. EQ will land. The Stand United comes out from Flex account. The Shen coming into the play will get the taunt onto the jungler. Woolen flashed away, but the explosives charge strapped to his head. That is going to be the first blood for the God Gamer. Rocket jump away now to try to create enough space, but that's Cappuccino on the chase, and he's going to be able to tie that kill up, take down the enemy Tristana, but now beautiful grand entrance gets the knockup onto 2, and that's the Akshan who's going down extraordinarily low, trying to flash right, a beautiful taunt flash from Flex account. The Shen locks down another one, and the Maokai as well with a twisted advance. It's going to be absolutely Glacial Mafia coming up all heads down here in the bot lane.
Yeah, that was an absolute beautiful play. I wish we had a replay just to break that down again. The Shen ultimate coming in nice and early, getting that nice recall, having the boost to help survive that out as well. And then, of course, the follow-up going through, the bomb being able to catch Woolen out of position. Of course, the Ignite also revealed where God Gamer was in the bushes, so they did get a kill off Cappuccino, but still 1-4, pretty great. This is already giving a nice 2,000 gold lead, and with people this good at the game, that is pretty impressive at 6 minutes, almost 7 minutes right now. That's gonna make things a little bit more difficult for them. Still winnable on either side, but certainly gonna be favoring, red side.
Yeah, it was a really nice fight for them. It feels especially good when you're playing into a Jarvan, right, who relies so heavily on getting that momentum in the early game to really have a high impact. Oh dear, it looks like yeah, some connection issues here, but looks like they're relatively minor for the time being. Not going to be getting any pauses in the immediate future. But yeah, definitely, this is a strong position, I think, for the Glacial Mafia. But Jarvan is not deterred. It appears that Woolen wants to go again down here. The dredge line will land onto Amanda. The Rakan is theoretic, maybe going to get... No, absolutely not. The Rakan is totally fine. Just dashes on out to safety. Meanwhile, a taunt landing in the top lane. Lemon Poet continuing to play on the defensive up here as we see Shen tick over to level 8.
Yeah, a lot of summoners have been used here, so people trying to get out of sticky situations or just trying to get a little bit more of an aggressive play might mean things are going to be cooling down for the time being. That being said, though,
the heroic swing in. Cappuccino going deep underneath the tier 1, but the comeuppance will not be enough to finish off the Xerath, and now the ranking of Toe is here. The minions are going to be able to help out this tree to take down the mid laner, and Cappuccino took a sip of that coffee, and it was a little bit too hot.
A little too hot. Indeed, they're the minions just doing the damage that they needed to with ranking of Toe. There is no way that Rakan was going to get caught out that last time. I think God Gamer might have even been able to buffer a rocket jump, and he follows through to the champion, not the location, I think, when he clicks on him. Could be mistaken on that, though.
Yeah, it seems like something that could work for the Rakan. Yeah, I'm with you there. But yeah, I just, I'm still warming up over here myself, kind of forgetting Rakan's mobility. But look at this. They are onto the Dragon for the side of Glacial Mafia, looking to burn this one down. Smite is good for the Toe ranking. Dredgeline will connect, though. The Maokai is very, very low in danger of getting taken down. Tries to twist and advance to the Scuttlecraft to get away and will be able to do so. Meanwhile, the mid laner taking down the other side of the fight. Amanda dumped into the Cataclysm, but immediately flashes out to safety. And no kills are going to come through for the side of Planetary Collision. It's just Glacial Mafia. They get the objective and the kill, and then they get out.
This is exactly kind of what I was hinting about Cataclysm here. A lot of GM has tools to get out of Cataclysm, like we just saw there, which makes some of their playmaking tools difficult to do. They've got all these AoE effects that really capitalize on this, Ziggs Ultimate, and of course Counter-Strike coming out of Poet. But if you can never get that off, it doesn't do anything for you right now. The early game jungler, Woolen here, is 0-1, but ranking of Toe here, who's not necessarily the most early jungler, is 2-0 right now, and so's their mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, the Maokai's meta for a while, it's just so reliable. His setup is so good. He gets so tanky. We are going for the demonic Maokai, which, is definitely not as strong as it used to be, but we've honestly seen a little bit of the demonic Maokai coming out at Worlds as well. Some saplings doing some work even on the biggest stage. So, ranking of Toe, pulling out Old Faithful here in the tree and having a pretty solid performance on him thus far.
I think it's doable right now, especially with the lead that they have right now. And like you said, a little bit of the burden of damage being in on these two laners. You can do a little
Hang
bit
on
more.
just a moment. Katsuna in trouble. Grand entrance going to find the knockup. Ziggs flashed away, trying to stay alive underneath the turret. The ignite will not quite be enough to get that kill. And Katsuna barely able to outplay and survive underneath the tier 1.
Yeah, that was pretty close there. If God Gamer wasn't able to buffer the rocket jump from the dredge line, they would have been caught out there. And they were able to do it, so they were nice and safe. A lot of people are going to be low, though, so getting these farm is going to be a little bit dangerous. Flash and heal is available, though. Oh my gosh,
beat down right now in this top lane. Lemon Poet going down so low there. The erase of the arcane comes out. The taunt flash not even needed, as July 8 just rains him down from the mid lane there. Woolen now going in to try and secure his own Krugs. Will be able to get the smite down. God Gamer, rocket jump back out of the Cataclysm. Jarvan barely able to survive after that buster shot, but the Stand United now is here. Flex account 8 has made this a fight in favor of the Glacial Mafia once again. It is a 2-0 in the bot lane after they'd already picked off the top laner. Glacial Mafia are quickly running away with this first game, Abba.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive right now. 5K gold lead, and we're not even 12 minutes in. This is getting to be almost 500 gold a minute of an advantage that they're creating, which is almost a stomp if they're getting that close. Like I said, though, it's still the laning phase.
What about the laning phase there, Abba?
It's still the laning phase, right? Like, it's definitely sets the tone of the game, but it's not the end-all, be-all. They can still pick up some of these champions who scale, can get into the game here. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for Cappuccino to get some of those revives being 1 and 4. But there's still outs for them potentially to go for. It looks like we might be getting a Trinity Force from the Lemon Poet, so they might be trying to split Jax's attention there and try and get some towers there. That might be the gold that they need.
Maybe, but I don't know. Trinity Force, generally speaking, an item that feels much better from ahead. Because it is so expensive, it does take a long time to get to that spike, and we can already see that this Shen is not taking that much damage right now.
That is true. Shen is a little bit stronger, though, in the early game. But Poet is a little bit behind. He does have a farm lead, at least a good 20 farms, so that's going to help him with the kills. Not the XP difference, though. That's harder to make up.
Taunt coming in. There's Lemon Poet going down too low. Look at this. 1v1 is just not looking very winnable for the Jax. The jungler has peeled off of the Herald to save his top laner. And can they actually get the kill? The W field will come out from Flex account, and he denies the auto attacks from the 2 auto attackers. He lands the taunt, and he gets them both in the 1v2. There's a little bit of help from the Xerath with the ultimate, but that was basically just Flex account absolutely flexing all over him.
Yeah, Uranus sitting here 404. Kills not found here. Well, Flex Arc is gladly flagging those numbers with his KDA.
And that was, I mean, Woolen feels especially bad now for the Jarvan as well. Wanted to get the Rift Herald and even had a decent amount of priority up there in the top lane to try and go for it, but he had to peel off because he saw his top laner getting solo killed, so he needed to try and go up there to help, but in the end, it ended up being the wrong call, and they just lose everything.
And now we're looking at another objective for Team Red right now. That's just not looking up for them.
Lemon Poet is still trying to fight this 1v1 despite consistently losing out in it all game long. And I mean, he's trading back decently well. That is actually Divine Sunder completed in the Jax inventory. Nice flash for the engage for Amanda, but not quite able to find it. The Rakan getting burned down. The Ignite, I believe. Oh, it's a bomb from the Ziggs that actually did manage to secure that kill. So that is going to be Katsuna on the board now for Planetary Collision. They're still very far behind, but money onto the Ziggs is exactly where you want it.
Yeah, and we're starting to get to some of those mythic power spikes as well. Leandre's Torment, Divine Sunderer, Heartsteel as well, also on the line right now. That being said, not being ahead on objectives, kills, or gold does not really help Uranus right now.
And we do have ourselves a Mountain Soul here, Abba. So if more of those dragons end up going through towards Glacial Mafia, this Shen and this Maokai are just not going to be killable.
Yeah, they're going to be pretty tanky indeed, just because of the extra resistances and the shields that go on top of it. Even with the composition that Uranus has chosen, where they have a lot of flexibility in their damage, none of those flexible options have really been showing that damage, which makes things a little bit harder at all. You know, a tankier target, if you can't get your damage done to begin with, is not where you want to be.
Yeah, all of the flexing so far this game has exclusively been done by the Glacial Mafia top laner. And we are still waiting for that to change. There is still time, right? We are going to have some later game win conditions for the side of Planetary Collision, assuming they can get there. But it's not looking great right now. As Rights of the Arcane come out once again. Lemon Pope with the flash away to survive. And that is going to force the flash out from Flex Count, actually, as the Counter-Strike could come back off cooldown. So now we do have some signs of life for the Jax, able to hold his own now in this top lane with the Divine Sunderer completion.
I'm not sure if those are going to be signs of life for long. He's pretty low in mana, doesn't have a whole lot of mobility, and the wave is crashing towards him on a Shen he can't necessarily fight.
Yeah, the mana issue does definitely seem to be one that is plaguing the Jax. So I do like that you highlighted that for us right at the start of the game, Abba.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those tricky things, because if you try and go in, well, Shen can just say, hey, I have a defensive option specifically for auto attackers, which is exactly what you are. So you have to be very careful about timing that Counter-Strike, and it's kind of obvious when you're going to go in, and you have a dash as well. So Flex Arc has been playing this beautifully, been able to get a lot of setups for their team, and done exactly what they need to be doing. Shen might not be the most exciting champion by itself, but the plays you get to make have been pretty exciting, especially those bot lane all-ins with the Stand United have been pretty exciting.
Absolutely, Abba. You know what's exciting is winning the game. And if you can support your carries to help them do that, then that's going to be exactly what Flex Account is after. And we do need to remember as well that this Shen came through on R5. This was the Nature's Grasp coming out in the bottom lane for the toe ranking. Not going to be finding any priority targets with that one, though. And there are numbers in the area for the side of Planetary Collision. So Maokai gank will fizzle out. Teams will back away for now.
I don't think we highlighted it as well. That tower was gone. First tower did go to Team Red.
Yeah, Cataclysm back in. Woolen running out of HP. The Rights of the Arcane come out. And that's going to be Woolen getting his rights read to him as the Jarvan goes down once again. Flex Count taunt underneath the turret teleport coming out from the Xerath to join up with the top laner Lemon Poet with the counter strike, or the leaf strike over the wall, but it is absolutely not enough to get him to safety as the Xerath blasts him from long range.
Snipers in the building. Sitting there with 9 charges as well in his Darkseal, who ended up buying it pretty early on after one of those fights. No, we didn't talk too much about it. And it's now a Magi's as well. Just a very cheap item for a lot of AP. And when you're this far ahead, 6,000 gold, in fact, it's pretty effective with those Sork boots.
Yeah, that's a one-way ticket to Value Town for July 8th. Feeling really good after that sequence. Look at all this damage he's doing, just landing a couple of skill shots onto this auction. And Cappuccino swinging right on out of that lane.
You know, it sounds like, oh, it's just a couple of skill shots. You know, they did a good chunk of damage. But you also got to remember, the target, Akshan, pretty mobile. And has some evasive maneuvers, can be camouflage, can swing around, and just been landing them.
Okay, we are now sending the Goon Squad up towards top lane for PCU. They are going to look to try and turn this ship around and get their Jax into more of a position of power in this side lane. Let's see how Flex Count is going to be wanting to play this one out. Gets pulled in by the Dredge line. The Inferno Bomb comes out as well. And it looks like the Shen just didn't have a whole lot of options there. He's going to get focused down. Shelly's going to continue to do some work in that top lane. The side of Glacial Mafia are trying to trade back in mid, but racing against the Rift Herald is not really going to work out in your favor. They're going to be in danger of even losing the tier 3 if they don't go back to base soon.
Yeah, the double tower plus the objective bound, so that's an extra 800 gold, I believe, split amongst their team, is really going to help recuperate. They're only down to a 5k gold deficit, a little under that, in fact, which is nice to see, and they can create some pressure there. It really does look like Lemon Poet is their alternate win con that they're having to stick to right now. And with the top lane turrets down as much as they are, they might be able to focus on some of these bot lane ones as well. That being said, it is 4-2 turrets, so they do really need to be able to defend some of these, not the outermost turrets, but the tier 2 turrets here, because it's just going to be so difficult. It's easy to overextend there with no other turrets being there to protect you. They can walk in through your jungle. There's all sorts of angles. The vision game from the minion waves being able to push out a little bit further because of the lack of towers is going to be favoring GM here, in addition to the other advantages they have.
Yeah, which are quite numerous. You know, able to pick up that Mountain Drake about a minute ago as well. Does mean that they are now less than 4 minutes away from potential Mountain Soul that I think would be pretty much game ending. I mean, you got some consistent damage with the Ziggs here. He's got the Leandries. He can try and burn through those health bars, but just don't know if it's going to be enough when you have, you know, Maokai and Shen. They're just this strong. They're just going to be running at your face as soon as the team fight breaks out. It's going to be pretty hard for the Ziggs to actually do all of the heavy lifting here that I think will be required.
Especially when they haven't bought their tier item yet. They're just setting at a full stack tier as well. They need that third item to really pop off here. Another thing that they really, really need is they really need to get some shutdown gold off of July 8, who's also going to lose a bunch of their Magi stacks. That would also be really important for them, as their harass has really helped, especially with how many snipes they've been able to get as well. And if they could get God Gamer here as well, if their team is healthy enough, they might be able to get some more kills afterwards with the carries being gone. But that might not be the case. Their best option right now is to hope the enemy team goes for Baron and they do a turn there.
All right, if the Arcane just dials him in, Katsuna, no, just gets absolutely zeroed out by the Xerath from multiple screens away. And that was the main carry for PCU, just obliterated. Nothing he could do.
Get got. They didn't have flash. It's just almost a cooldown.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Could have tried to satchel charge, maybe. It might have been on cooldown. I'm not sure.
It's pretty long. And it's also fairly predictable. That'll get you out of one out of the many barrages there.
Yeah. More than he used to have, even, as that is going to be dim now. Caught out trying to get some vision around this Baron. But even if you got the vision, Mr. Nautilus, I don't know if there's anything the team could have done with it. You know, Woolen is hanging around in the area, but this Baron is as good as gone, Abba.
I like the idea here, but you got to keep in mind the minions are where they're at. They don't have that vision line to extend to see if they're even doing Baron. They're fighting in the dark to get vision. They need vision to get the vision that they need, which is not where they want to be. Oh my goodness!
Yeah, no, I'd say the Xerath is pretty online. I'd say, I'd say that's 19 stacks in the book now for July number 8. Change him to July 17th. He's going to be July 25th pretty soon, I think, Abba. That is how time works.
Holy.
My understanding.
Time is relative, right? That's what Einstein said. So it can be any date you want.
In some universe, it is July 25th right now. I don't know where I'm going with this. Anyways, we do have our Mountain Soul coming up in less than a minute now, Abba. I mean, is this just a wrap on this game? Is PCU just talking about game 2 right now? Like, we're not trying to win this anymore. We're just waiting for our Nexus to blow up? Or is there some way, some miracle chance that they can get in here and stop this Mountain Soul from going over?
I don't think they're going to be able to do it just for the reasons we saw in the Baron. They don't have the vision. They don't have the vision control. I don't think there's even going to be
by the nature, and the rights of the Arcane are going to come down once again. The Shen with the Stand United to be able to follow up on the Maokai. And it's just decimation. The gold lead is way too high. And look at Maokai just advancing on that swinging auction. Cappuccino will be able to survive for now. And now the Ajax leaping forward with the counter-strike. Gets the stun, gets the flash off of the jungler, but oh my goodness, it's just another Arcano Pulse, and July 8 has just had the perfect read on this little explosive Yordle. You'd think he'd be a difficult target to hit because he's so small, but that does not appear to be the case. July 8 just taking the game into his own hands. Xerath doesn't even, I guess he does have hands, yeah. And he absolutely took the game into him. This is going to be the end, guys, of game number 1. Ranking is very, very low on the toe, and that is going to be the kill onto the jungler as Woolen goes in with the EQ. Flex account is now on the front lines. Fight fighting off these members of PCU as they try to come back from the found to defend their nexus. They will be unsuccessful, and this will be the end of the game. 25 and a half minutes. Glacial Mafia, very dominant here in game one.
Yeah, what an astounding game for them. And here's the crazy thing: 25 minutes. GM alone had 23 kills, and of course, there's the 4 return kills that happened out of PCU. That's over a kill a minute in Masters. You usually don't see this bloodthirsty of a game, but with some of those early volatile plays, you knew that Mafia knew they could just put their foot on the gas, accelerate how this game was going to go, and that lead just started to snowball. They were very coordinated. They made some well thought out macro decisions on top of that, and that just got them the game here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really did feel pretty straightforward for the Glacial Mafia. They found that early lead, and then they just kind of ran with it. They didn't really need to do much more besides play things out slowly, keep stacking up those objectives, and
yeah,
it looked pretty straightforward.
You were talking about how what was going to stop this soul happening. I'm like, well, part of me just wants to say it's not going to happen. They're never going to need to fight over it. They don't have to. They're just going to end the game. They've got Baron.
Yeah, and that is what we ended up seeing, right? That's exactly what happened. So.
Yeah, we'll have to see how they're going to be adapting into game 2. Do they want that counter matchup on top side for the losing team? Possibly. It looked like they were trying to play through top, which could really help their composition in total.
Yeah, well, we'll have to wait and see. It does appear that we may be getting the side swapped around for the second game, Abba, but I don't want to call anything before it's set in stone. Let's go ahead and get into a very quick break, and we'll be right back with our champ select for game 2. We'll see you back here soon. Alrighty, style fans, back in we go to the champion select phase for game number 2. The teams are indeed going to be swapping sides. The Planetary Colliders deciding they do, in fact, want that counter pick this time around, Abba.
Yeah, the other thing that seems to be a predicament for them is the classic ban the enemy team here, except for the Leona. That's what Uranus is doing right now. No Maokai, no Rakan, not in this game.
Yeah, well, the Engage did certainly seem to present a little bit of a problem for them previously, but now the Kaisa is going to be selected on B1. That 3 armor nerf, be damned, Abba. She's B1 anyway.
I still think she's a pretty strong champion, especially with those starting item buffs that have been coming in. Senna would be an interesting pick, has the range to harass, but is pretty squishy herself. If this is a Tahm Kench support, which it probably will be, it's pretty potent. I've done it before. It is sick nasty.
Yeah, the Senna does seem to be relatively powerful right now in this current iteration of the game. I believe it was DFM that attempted to pull out the Senna at Worlds. Didn't end up working out too fantastically well for them, but we'll see if maybe the Planetary Colliders are going to be able to find a little bit more success. The Blitzcrank coming out now for Amanda this time around, taking off the Rakan, and this is now going to be the angle.
Yeah, we all know what happens with a nasty Blitzcrank. You go bye-bye. Someone dies whenever a Blitzcrank grab happens, whether it be someone on the enemy team or your team, because you accidentally grab the tank and now you can't get away.
Yeah, the Blitzcrank, the duality of Blitzcrank is well known among anybody who's played a decent amount of League. The Lee Sin, is that what you were about to react to, Ebba?
Yeah, some nice early game to come with it, and along with the engage that comes with Blitzcrank, can be pretty potent against some of these squishier targets here. So Tahm Kench, anyone else who's going to be helping protect some of these carries like Senna, is going to have their work cut out for them, especially pre-6, because Tahm Kench won't be able to devour you. But the
True.
Nocturne.
Oh, very interesting. Can be good into things like the Blitzcrank. You do need to make sure you have that reaction time, all sharpened and ready to go, because you do not have a ton of time to react with that spell shield. It can be really powerful against the Lee Sin as well, but again, being able to react in time to seeing that sonic wave come at you can be difficult. So we will have to keep our eyes on Woolen to see how he does with the pick.
And there's a lot of competition for what they needed to use it for. Blitzcrank Hook, obvious. Lee Sin, obvious. And then Kaisa's W can be enough to finish those procs. So if you don't spell shield that, her passive on top of that damage could be enough to take you out. So we'll have to see how that goes. But if he's able to get some of these picks on some of these squishier targets, that can really shape the fight as well. And Tahm Kench can help get him out.
Of course, with the AP Kaisa, those Ws, those Void Seekers, particularly dangerous, extra nasty. That does not seem to be the most popular Kaisa build at the moment. Certainly still a viable one, but of course, people on this patch, over the last week or so, tend to have, started moving more towards this sort of weird hybrid lethality on hit sort of concoction that's been floating around.
Let him cook. Let him cook.
Yeah. We'll see what the God Gamer is going to grace us with in this particular game.
Kaisa is one of those champions where she kind of wants a lot of different stats. So if there was ever a champion to cook on other than Bard, Kaisa, I think, would be a pretty good contender.
Yeah, I heard, I think it was either Mark Z or Goldberg on the desk earlier comparing Kaisa to, she's like the new Ezreal. She just builds whatever she wants.
Yeah. It's
anyways, the mid lane matchup is now something that we do have locked in for ourselves, Abba. The Syndra in response to the Cosmic Dragon going to be coming out here. I think we can say one thing that we are noticing already for the side of Planetary Collision is they are super scaling with this draft. I mean, they are scaling like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
They really hope there is one, because they're going to be a lot stronger, when that comes.
That's certainly the case. Senna, Aurelion Sol, both people that stack. I will remind them how fast that last game ended, around 25 minutes. That is
Yeah.
not scaling central, and with how some of those lane matchups went, that's not particularly great. Syndra can't harass Aurelion Soul, kind of has him by the balls, if you will, being those were
Mm,
castrated so many patches ago. That
yeah.
being said, Nasus, another stacker
Wow.
versus
Okay.
Scion, also a stacker. My bad. Oh man, we're
So
gonna
this
see
is
some
this is
thick
an
numbers.
interesting interpretation, I think, from Planetary Collision about how that last game went. So they seem to have identified the same problem that we did, Abba, that being early game, not good, fell very far behind, couldn't play the video game.
Mhm.
Our solution that we, I think, were kind of expecting was, make sure that you draft powerful early game champions to try and ensure that you don't fall behind in that early game once again. But they have opted instead for a more, let's just not play the game at all for the first 20 minutes and then try a little bit later on.
So Senna, Tom Kench is pretty strong early on, just because you can do a lot of harassment. Senna can just fam in there, and Tom Kench can do his early game shenanigans. Uh, on top of that, Nocturne has pretty fast clear speed, can just power to 6 or rotate for any of the lane switches where he wants to try and help out with. Maybe just get some waves under control, just get him out of a jam, stop some phrases from happening so people don't get harassed, etc. And can utilize that tool because he's got pretty good clear. Uh, Unfortunately for them, Lee Sin also not the worst at clearing and is pretty strong early on, which can kind of match some of that as well. So I don't think this early game strong is going to work out for the bot lane, but if they just refuse to be interacted with for like a good 20 minutes, we see a 0-0 KDA on both teams. It's going to go swimmingly for them.
Oh, yeah.
That is a tall order, though.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is a very tall order, I think, especially when there are champions like Blitzcrank and Lee Sin on the other team that are so powerful in the early game and do have those playmaking abilities that sort of demand responses, right? Like if the Blitzcrank flashes at you and throws his hook at you, I mean, that forces a response, right? And when the response is just like, oh no, I'm going to flash away now and hide underneath my turret, and if you try and dive me, I'm going to have to either die or leave my turret, then that's not very inspiring in terms of setting up win conditions for yourself.
Yeah, and the other thing we have to keep in mind is Tom Kench wants to go in, Nocturne wants to go in here. Blitzcrank can help disable you. Lee Sin can kick you away. Syndra can kick you away. Sion can knock you up and do all sorts of stuff. Or he can just be out on his own, just, doing the classic Labao strategy, although really adapted his gameplay. Either way, like, it's just going to be stuff to toil with. They got their work cut out for him.
Yeah. I mean, I think we can't. There are some bright spots that I think we can highlight for Planetary Collision. In isolation, some of these lanes look reasonably good. The Senatom Kench, as you were just discussing a little while ago, Abba, can be powerful even in the early game. It's a well-known duo, right? Senna scales extraordinarily well, as we've already said, and they have a lot of sustain. They have a lot of ability to sort of survive through that laning phase, so that can work well. The Nasus pick on R5, right, into the Scion. This is clearly something that the Planetary Collision top laner is comfortable on and wanted this matchup, right? And I think in theory, the Nasus should be pretty comfortable to farm up and scale against the Scion, right? Isn't going to really be too pressured off those minion waves. Should be able to get those Q stacks nice and high. And it is a very cohesive composition for PC overall, right? All of their champions kind of want to do the same thing.
It is cohesive for sure. And he has some decent wave clear with his E, and we can't undersell Wither and how much that can really guck up some champions that want to get on top of you. Kaisa, like, just Wither, walk away.
There you go. There you go. There is also going to be a Lee Sin. That then will not be withered. But, we'll deal with that problem when we come to it, Abba, okay? That's not something that
for the bonk stick, okay?
Exactly. That's what we have the bonk stick for. But okay, well, we'll see how that goes later on. Of course, the Glacial Mafia do have momentum coming off of that one-sided game 1 victory. Are you predicting them to find a similar success here in game number 2, Abba? Or do you think Planetary Collision? Do you think we successfully cursed Glacial Mafia enough with our favoring of their composition to actually give Planetary Collision, a little bit more favorable position here?
I still think Mafia has the edge. They played that first game really well. Doesn't mean second game's going to go that well as well. But that being said, I just like their composition way more.
Yeah, I am certainly in line with you, Abba. I do think that the way things are looking on our monitors currently, it is looking like it might be a Glacial Mafia 2-0 tonight. But there is a reason that we play the games, right? And that is because anything can happen on Summoner's Rift. We'll see what happens, guys, right after this. Don't go anywhere. All right.
Oh my gosh. Same strat as last time.
All right, everybody, welcome back onto the Rift once again. And we do have the side of Glacial Mafia on the blue side this time, looking for the hook. We'll get the flash off the Nasus here at the level 1 mark. Gotta love those Blitzcrank level 1s, huh, Abba?
Oh yeah, cheese in the building here. It does look like some nice deeper wards we're able to take there. We got that ward onto the red buff as well, which is a nice advantage, as well as the ward being done in the Raptors. So we'll have a pretty good idea of where each jungler is sitting for each teams if they weren't sitting in the casting booth like us, in the spectators booth.
Yeah, definitely good from the side of Planetary Collision to be able to get that deep vision down, right? When you see the Blitzcrank go for that play on the top side of the map, you know you have that window to get in there and get some information for your own jungler. So do love to see that. And we are going to once again have our jungler starting on opposite sides, Abba. It is going to be the ranking of Toe that is pathing up towards the top side this time around. And Woolen going to be looking now towards that bot lane, that Senna TK setup.
Yeah, I mean, any of these lanes, I think Lee Sin can really take advantage of. Uh, just if Toe could get onto center there, the easy damage, the setup, the follow up, pretty good, unless the thick boy TK Tom Kench is able to block him, or if he's able to stop some of the scalability on Poet as well, just able to harass him and get his scaler onto the top side ahead, could also be pretty potent as well.
I mean, we know that Nasus has no flash now, right? So that seems like a
Mm-hmm.
pretty nice target for the Lee Sin to go for early on. The Lemon Poet is getting the push early up here. Remember that Lemon Poet was losing out consistently in the 1v1 in the previous game. This time around, got the counter pick. So hoping to see a much stronger performance from that Planetary Collision top laner here in game 2.
Another interesting thing to point out here is they went Conqueror on Lemon Poet here rather than a Grasp, which is what I was initially expecting with the sort of scaling, stay healthy in lane. Because right now, that's not helping them.
Oh, it doesn't seem to be. The Wither will come out, and that will successfully, I think, be able to disengage. But the Lee Sin is on his way up. And meanwhile, the bot lane, the hook lands, and Katsuna's in trouble. The Tom Kench will survive, but the Nasus with no flash will not. And the Toe ranking strikes in the top lane.
Excellent first play, gets him a nice lead, especially with Flex Art starting with a Cull. It's going to force that teleport out as well, which just means they're going to be out of summoners. And Flex Art is just going to have free reign. Even if they have a bad back there, they can make that up with their teleport advantage, or they can make a play like we saw in game 1.
Okay, well, able to secure that blue buff with the smite, so the Nocturne is okay for now and is actually up significantly over Toe ranking in terms of farm. The Lee Sin not clearing any of those topside camps, so it's actually half the CS right now of the Nocturne. So that is what we need to look for Woolen, right? Need to get towards that level 6 mark. Is Hook, not going to land this time around.
That was so close for them to line that up. Fortunately, it wasn't quite there. That being said, it's kind of in a difficult spot here with desync Lee Sin.
Oh, Reliant Soul is gliding, is flashing away. Cappuccino will survive, but now that's another flash off of a PCU solo laner.
And he's going in for more action, too. Barely picked up that much.
Woolen does have the level advantage right now over Toe ranking. The smite, I think, was good there from the Lee Sin, but he can't get away from the Nocturne with the lethal tempo. Now it's Toe ranking's turn to not have the flash, and that is going to be PCU on the board in the early game.
The hook is
the
good
hook onto the Senna. That's going to be good damage onto Dim. Senna able to trade back decently well, though, as the root even landing onto the Kai'Sa, who gets licked a little bit as well from the Tom Kench. Should be able to farm up this lane underneath the turret.
Just a lot of harassment, and they stay pretty healthy. It's exactly what you want to be doing into lanes like this. Just staying nice and healthy. Let's go back to that jungle play there. It did go to the Lee Sin. He went from 16 to 20 farm right there, so he was able to get the Scuttle Crab and the vision from it. But just being able to stay there, nice and patient. Woolen was able to get that kill. I think that might be their first kill in the set.
Oh, yeah. I don't quite recall if there were any kills in game number 1. Of course, that was Woolen on the J4. And yeah, I don't remember if he got any last. He probably got at least one.
There's only 4.
I want you to quote me on that.
So it's not that unlikely. That being said, Lemon might be in a bit of a pickle here.
I'm going to flashback in a second, but doesn't have the ultimate yet. Still just level 5 and going to get jumped on by the Toe ranking. And that is going to be Glacial Mafia pulling ahead. Although I think we can say, Ab, that this early game for PCU is better than what they showed us in game number 1. Ironically, with the full late game comp.
That is true. They do have a kill on the board right now. They were able to get that pickup on the jungler here. And it looks like they're getting a dragon here as well, something they didn't get last game. They're going to get caught out for it.
True.
I highly doubt this hook is going to steal it. It would have been funny if that happened, though.
I appreciate you trying to get us that, Abba. But yeah, not the caster curse wasn't quite powerful enough that time around.
No, I hadn't cast it in quite yet.
We do have the Herald's not alive yet. Still 90 seconds out on Shelly making an appearance. So that will be something to track. You know, the top lane, you know, Nasus is down. Oh, Cappuccino going to get knocked out of the sky. Beautiful scatter from the Syndra there is just going to outplay him with the R button. Oh, the flash forward for Katsuna, though, gets the root onto Amanda, but the Blitzcrank not CC'd for long enough. Able to make it back underneath the turret. Now Godgamer able to trade back a little bit with these auto attacks. The slow will dissuade the Kaisa from chasing any further. The junglers, though, making their way into the bot lane. Now Toring going to go in on the Sonic Wave straight into the Nocturnes. Very spooky embrace. It is the season for the Spooky Boy, and he will get paid. Woolen now on the board, and it's 2 kills now for Planetary Collision.
Yeah, they just were able to get out and get that kill. 2-2-1, so it's not like they're the strongest Lee Sin in the world. They've been able to get some plays for their team, all in all.
Yeah, I mean, I've loved Toe Ranking's focus on towards this top side, right? Honestly, just a little bit unlucky. The Unstoppable Force comes out. Will get the Ascendant from Nasus. The Fury of the Sands there. One more Q, not quite enough to finish the kill. Lemon Poet a little bit low on mana, but enough to look for something maybe underneath this turret. Meanwhile, we're looking in the bot lane as the Paranoia is going to come out onto the Kaisa. God Gamer in trouble. No Sum's going to get feared up. The lethal tempo from the Nocturne will be enough to get the kill. Flashes out from the turret range, but ranking of Toe is here. It's the Lee Sin's turn for the counter gank. We'll be able to get one back on the punish. Lemon Poet between the turrets now on the Nasus. Sign gets his shield back. Oh, not quite. Oh! Flashing for the execute damage with the shield. And the quick cast on the Q flex account is going to continue where he left off in game number 1 with the flexing.
Wow. I mean, he's pretty low in mana, too. So that's what makes it even more unlikely there. Plus, I'm sure there was a grasp of the Undying proc is there. He's doing so well with starting with a call. Of course, he's had several ganks to help him out here, but that play was all on them.
Oh, flash for the hook. That was insane. And the scatter as well. Cappuccino. Oh, he just didn't get to move.
I think it was a glide cancel that ended up stopping it. I wasn't sure if it was necessarily flash, because you can't flash when you get grabbed. Got pulled forward.
Yeah, no, it absolutely was. But it was Cappuccino trying to go for the Astral Flight, I think is the name of Aurelian Soul's glide ability. But yeah, he got hooked right out of it by Amanda, and the setup was beautiful. It was, actually, I'm not even sure if it was the hook or the scatter that landed first. As nice reaction there from the God Gamer to get away from that abyssal dive. It would get hit by the root, but most of that damage was avoided nicely by the Kaisa.
Yeah, getting pretty chunked out here. They don't have... No one's got a full mythic yet. Everyone's got to be getting pretty close to their items with the amount of kills that have been happening right now. 6-4, such a much closer game.
Amanda, not going to get knocked up, lands the hook onto the center, forces out the feast. Spit out, though. Dim is going to have the damage, and that is going to be the Blitzcrank down. God Gamer now in trouble, trying to make it back towards this tier 1, but the slow is going to come out from the lake. The Killer Instinct for the shield to try and create enough space, but the center range is just too much, and Dim's going to pick up the double 4-0 now for the support of PCU.
Yeah, that's what happens when you check out the Hotel Tom Kent right there. You can check in. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. Gets caught up.
Great tune.
Great tune. Great tune.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent play for them. And you, just look at it. Just look at it. We have Dim 99 right now, sitting at 4 kills right now. 2/3 of where their team's kills has. Of course, the other 2 going over to Wolfen, who's also been a pretty big player.
Flash in from Amanda, though, looking for another play in this mid lane.
Oh,
no! Oh, but we missed the rocket grab. The scatter will land, but we cannot chase underneath the turret. Amanda, it was almost so good there for the Blitzcrank, but
he
just not able to land the follow-up.
I can't believe he missed Skill Shot Alley.
Did everything perfectly there, except missing the Q.
Yeah. It happens to the best of us. It just sucks when it happens on stream in front of multiple viewers.
More than one viewer, indeed. Indeed. Oh, that was a nice cancel with the Blitzcrank ultimate to deny the dive coming through from the Tom Kench. In this top lane, Science just going to get a cheeky turret plate. Oh, no way, man. Oh, July 8th. Is going to be absolutely blown away. This dragon is shooting him out of the sky once again. Unstoppable onslaught will be stopped by the Lemon Poet, who's flashing forward now. And Scion, no flash, is going to get stacked by the Kane. There is that Kane, Abba, that you said earlier on was going to be the solution for PCU. Certainly was to that particular problem. But now they have another one as the Dragon getting focused down by Glacial Mafia. Woolen on the flank here, coming in from the south side. Paranoia activated. The smite is going to go to the red side. Woolen gets it, and that is going to be PCU with their second Dragon of the game. They are able to clean up the Kaisa as well. So now, Planetary Collision find themselves with the advantage.
Yeah, red side is doing pretty well right now. And of course, we're still in the laning phase. No towers have fallen. And we're still before the 14-minute mark. Of course, some of their big scalers have kind of gone to the wayside here. Cappuccino, just not their set. Just not their set right now. That being said, though, they do have some pretty good skin in the game with Jim99, who is going to get stronger and stronger, utilizing their range advantages. That's just going to get bigger as well versus their opponent.
Yeah, and Lemon Poet has been coming online now in the top lane as well, right? We just saw that solo kill a moment ago, so that is kind of the key for me. A mid lane feeling a little bit doomed. All right, the Syndra is just way more powerful than the Cerulean Soul Lane will be for the foreseeable future. But the Nasus has shown us signs of life, and I think if Lemon Poet can become a secondary threat in the side lane to complement the already very fed Senna, that could be an avenue into this game for PCU, but Lemon Poet, if he gets taken down here, that might all slip away. And that is exactly what's going to happen as Ranking of Toe with a beautiful lane gank makes it happen for Glacial Mafia.
So well done, able to get through there and use Lee Sin's mobility. Ranking of Toe just kicking him with his foot, taking him out. Exactly what they need. Oh,
Scatter not quite. Rocket Grab not either. Not going to be successful with that attempt, but
I think that what they needed to do there was just hold their grab, because Cappuccino has to react to something. Once that grab's down, they know they can move for free, but if it's not there, they can get grabbed at any moment. It's a lot more awkward, and it delays their back and all of that.
This is going to be the first brick going over to Flex on the Scion. That is going to extend the gold lead to just over 2K in favor of the Glacial Mafia here, just pre-15 minutes. But this next Dragon is going to be very crucial, Abba, as we do see the tier 1 in bot lane getting taken down very low as well. Godgamer are able to step up and clear out that minion wave, but it won't be enough to save the structure. So 1 for 1 in turrets. But as I was just saying, this next Dragon in 2.5 minutes time is really going to be the key moment for Glacial Mafia.
Yeah, one thing to highlight here is Lemon Poet losing their tier 1 turret might not be the best, might not be the worst, because if the wave gets pushed over to them, they get to stay on their half of the map and be a lot safer from any sort of gank to be able to stack up here. Same goes, of course, for Godgamer. They can farm a little bit more safely versus a Nocturne Wolen's playing right now, which can be pretty deadly, especially being 2-1 right now, and it's very difficult to get away from with magical footwear. Of course, she has some as well, but still, the mobility and the fear, the CC makes things pretty difficult for them.
Nocturne with the Stride Breaker this game. Got a little bit of an extra ability to stick onto potentially mobile targets. Unstoppable Onslaught going to come out here. There's the Rocket Grab. There's the knock-up. Nasus, he can't even cast his ultimate until he's almost dead already. And honestly, you probably should have just saved it, as even July 8 was here with a roam up from the mid lane to pick up the last hit. Number 4 for the Syndra, and that Dark Seal is stacking. In goes the Toe Ranking. Has to dodge away, though, now, as the Tom Kench is going to go in for the Abyssal Dive, but oh my goodness, oh, beautiful Devour to keep Dim alive on this Senna, and now Dim might be able to turn around the fight, has the damage on the Senna. July 8th used the Unleashed Power there as well, flashing for the Rocket Grab. They only get the Catfish, gone fishing, and that one is going to be, oh, the Scatter lands as well, though, and July 8, unstoppable indeed on this Syndra.
Well played by both teams here. Ranking Toe trying to get that pickup, and of course, Katsuna able to save them from their fate there. Meanwhile, Wolen was able to just hover around and wait for the action to happen. Has so much mobility with their ultimate Paranoia, just able to just jump in and fix the situation, muddy up the comms as well because of the lack of vision that it provides on the enemy team. It was really well done, but of course, some of those kills ended up favoring other teams, and now we see a kill lead on blue side. They're up above 3K gold right now. Dragons.
Yeah. The lead is significant for the Glacial Mafia. It's not game breaking by any means. Certainly not compared to what we saw in game number 1. Right. This is a much closer affair.
They do have mid priority right now with Dragon right now, which is good for them. They don't have bot side, which is kind of helpful for that as well, with the slow push going back into the Cerulean Soul Cappuccino, who's been taking the bot side.
Oh. So this is interesting. I'm just noticing that Scion is a full item ahead of Nasus. I'm not entirely sure how that happened. I guess Nasus has died 5 times, and Scion did get the first turret, but that's still a bigger lead than I was expecting.
An extra 9 farm, plus you got to calculate some of those items.
This cat is not having a good time. This cat is all wet, Abba.
14 stacks. 14 stacks. On that
14 on the Aurelian Soul?
No, Magi's.
Oh, thank goodness. I thought I was so concerned for a second. He has how many?
No.
Okay.
That would be
all right. We should probably check on how many he does actually have at some point once he's alive again. But
Naz is sitting at 363, 742 stacks, sitting on Flex Arc with 169 max health gain from their Heartsteel, by the way. In case you were curious, I can't check on Grasp, unfortunately. I don't know how to do that. And
I'm not sure either.
123 Cosmic Creators.
Missile dive, knock up onto the toe ranking. Beautiful roundhouse kick to try and create some space for the Paranoia. The flash underneath the turret, and now Woolen maybe gone too far, flashing away as well for the Nocturne to be able to stay alive. Now Blitzcrank on the chase, flag. Oh, Dim is all by himself. Somehow nobody is peeling for the Senna. She's going to try and make a run for it up the river, but she won't be able to get away. Lee Sin is just too mobile. And the Tom Kench just abandoned his Senna. What happened there?
That's a shutdown, too. Tom Kench did not abandon her. Dim just kind of stood in the sidelines trying to get some harass or something to go with it. Their whole team left, and then they stayed. That is not on their team. Right. That is on Dim.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, I think we can call that a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Like, yes, we can say that Dim should have moved with the rest of the team over into the mid lane, but like when she didn't, the Tom Kench kind of just needs to live.
Yeah, that's also true. That's true. It's also a team game here as well. It's just my reflexes as an AD carry that are going, who's to blame? Well, I know who's to blame here. The answer's always Abba.
Hey, fair enough. I know that feel all too well, as does pretty much anybody who plays League of Legends, I think. At least that's the conclusion that I have managed to come to.
Especially if you're jungler. You get flagged for a lot of stuff that isn't your fault.
That's just kind of how it goes. That is the video game. We do have our next dragon not going to be alive for a little over 2.5 minutes on that one. We are going to have Baron alive before then. But this is a more meaningful lead now for the side of Glacial Mafia. They're starting to stack up these advantages a little bit further, and July 8 in particular is looking absolutely fearsome.
It's super weird right now. We have Nasus, Lemon Poet, is staying to the top side, trying to get their farm, just trying to get those stacks. Meanwhile, Cappuccino is trying to do so in the bot against Flex Arc because they can't push up from the top anymore, but no one's really protecting top. So we're trying to get this mid-push priority for the next objective here. Well, not securing the top because Flex Arc has teleport, trying to match any threat that happens.
Oh, dear. Woolen walking through his own jungle, but little did he know it was a trap set by his opposition. The Glacial Mafia spring it easily, and with that pick right around the 20-minute mark, Abba, this game looked so very, very close until it just didn't anymore.
Yeah, it was kind of like this game was Olaf. They were very much ahead until they weren't.
Yeah, and my thoughts exactly. July just playing bodyguard around the back of the pit here. This will surely go over.
There's no way they're going to be able to stop it without a smite here, and they just don't have the vision to go with it as well. I'm glad they were able to get some sort of push in response here, but it's not good news for them. Oh, no. You heard it. The Scion.
Yeah, that is the Scion. The choo-choo train has left the station, and it has arrived in the bot side river as Dim is blast code into the station just in time to board that train. I don't think he's getting off of it anytime soon, as now Katsuna on the run, trying to find a pond to hop back into, but I think it's going to be a very, very shallow one, 6 feet deep to be precise, as it's going to be July 8th that puts him there 7-0 for the Syndra, godlike in the mid lane.
Yeah, there's the Rift Herald to go with it. Just all aboard the pain train. They were just getting caught out there. They knew roughly where people were going to be because of the Baron. Unfortunately, teleport is part of this calculus here that they need to take into account. I'm glad they're going to be able to get this top side for this bounty. It's not going to necessarily stop what's going to happen next for the next 4 minutes. They're going to have wave priority. You got to think about the clear speed that everyone has. Flaxark has good clear speed. God Gamer has good clear speed. July 8 is certainly going to be eaten well.
Yeah, this is going to be their second Mountain Dragon that they do manage to pick up for themselves. 2 Mountain Souls in a row tonight.
Oh no, that's not the thing that's really concerning. Look at Ark's items. Woof. I see.
I thought you were talking about the Syndra waiting in the bush.
No, I'm talking about the Hull Breaker. It just makes things super hard for him during this Baron buff. It's going to be hard to take it down with 2 Mountain Drakes.
Yeah, no, I mean, we can see that highlighted beautifully up on our screens right now. What you were just talking about. That's going to be an unstoppable onslaught. There's going to be the Fury of the Sands, but the Sands are looking pretty tame to me, Abba, is that it is going to be a paranoia. Now, the whole team now coming for flex count on this sign. It truly is the boss strategy that is being executed upon here. You know, he may not be building lethality, but he's the boss in his heart. And he will get shut down, but it's all going to be worth it because the team is breaking into the base on the other side of the map's bot lane has been blown wide open. Glacial Mafia make their way into the enemy base. Going to be able to take down this inhibitor as well. Oh, that was a beautiful setup from ranking of Toe. Great performance on the Lee Sin in this one. That is going to be the flash that comes out from the Kaisa, but now they may have baited themselves in on the side of PCU to their demise as Toe ranking goes in for the execute onto the Nocturne. Sent on the Fountain, but that will not be enough to save her, as now only Lemon Poet left will be able to stack up the Kaisa before all is said and done. But back-to-back 25-minute wins for the Glacial Mafia. They are looking like a family you do not want to mess with.
Honestly, it ended up the way we expected, but not in the same route. We did not take the same journey. I think PCU played a lot smarter into the early game and really fixed some of their shortcomings. I think their composition helped enable this. Maybe it's not over yet.
No, I think it's over. Cappuccino's just going to get jumped on. Oh, yeah, okay, we do have some other respawns coming through here. And the Aurelion Soul was distracting enough to prevent me from hitting the next. Oh, the choo-choo trade. It arrived at the station once again, punctual as always. The flex account route absolutely arriving to that platform on time and ready to go. That Sonic Wave will connect onto a minion. That will keep Dim alive for now. The Abyssal Dive will connect onto the Lee Sin, but I just don't know if there's enough juice in the tank for PCU. They are going to be able to shut down the Lee Sin. Where's Dim? Dim's already down. The Senna's been taken out, and now it's just the Poet. He's trying to spit some verse. He's trying to make some rhyme, but I don't think he's going to have the time. There he goes, July 8th, Legendary. Gets shut down towards the end here, but we do have a Scion, and he is on top of the Nexus Abatron Bone, and I think that is going to be the old she wrote as God Gamer comes in to put the finishing touches on it. Glacial Mafia looking good coming into Season 17.
Yeah, they're certainly a strong team and deserve their spot as one of the top 5 teams. I really liked PSUs or PCUs come back there. Obviously, they didn't win. They did better. I think their composition of, hey, we need to scale, really forced this play style to play smarter, play more carefully, and not get caught out. It worked beautifully for them until they inevitably did get caught out because let's face it, that's what Mafia's composition was. They had Kaisa, they had Blitzcrank, they had Lisa, they had bloody Scion here as well, just able to yoink them into the pain train station and take the game.
Yeah, it was really, really well executed by the side of the Glacial Mafia, particularly those solo laners. absolutely dominant in the 1v1s. And I mean, in this game two, especially in
Mm-hmm.
game one as well, though, I mean, the mid gap tonight was unreal. I mean, usually I don't want to call out specific lanes like that because, League of
Yeah.
Legends, it's a 5v5 game. Like, yes, it is a collective effort, right, on either side for a win or a loss. But like, just looking at the post game stats for this one is crazy. I mean,
I'm still looking at the victory screen, and if you look right now, Cappuccino only has one item, and right now, July 8 almost has 4 items. They have 1,000 gold with 2 double large rods there, so they probably could have bought that 4th item pretty soon. Uh, yeah, that is devastating for sure in the mid lane. I think one of the big mistakes they ended up making in game two is they took some of those earlier dragons to try and get that pressure, but that meant they knew where the jungler was, where a lot of their pressure was, a lot of their playmaking ability was, and them putting that on dragon, I don't think is the winning condition that they needed. I think they needed some of these lanes just to be stronger. They had a good bot lane. They either need to figure out how to keep their top laner Poet just a little bit more healthy to scale, or were able to get a shutdown onto Syndra. Maybe not fix the lane, but get the shutdown gold onto a pretty strong carry that Nocturne can be.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of tough, right? Because the side of Planetary Collision did have to blind pick their mid lane, right? They wanted to save that R5 counter pick for Lemon Poet in the top side. So we saw Cappuccino go for the Aurelion Soul, and if we saw July 8 go for a similar pick that they went for in the previous game where they were on the Xerath, right? And then you're just matching the scaling, that could have worked out fine for Cappuccino, right? But July 8 was not going to let that happen, was not going to provide that opportunity for their opponent. Locked in the Syndra and absolutely just bullied the Dragon in that lane. Really shut him out with the assistance of Amanda. Some nice roams on the crank there into the mid lane as well. And of course, the toe ranking the Lee Sin all over the map in that early game. But yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much going to do it for this best of three, Abba. I mean, you have any final thoughts? Anything else you wanted to add here?
Draft phase, way more important than I think a lot of people give leeway to. That's when the game actually starts. Watch out for your draft phase. It'll really help you throughout your season.
Yeah, it does actually appear, Abba, that they are playing a third game. I'm not really sure what that's about.
They could be doing a block of 3. We could go through it if you want, or if you want to call it, we certainly can.
I mean, I will say that these first couple of games didn't really make me feel all that hopeful for a different result in game number 3. I mean, I'm definitely okay leaving. I mean, if you have, maybe we just, I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, it's more content to learn from. We don't get to see master players that often. On the other hand, we did see this is a bit of a one-sided matchup right now. Could turn the other way. They could adapt to game 3, but unlikely.
Yeah, I think let's just call it a best of 3. Of course, they're more than welcome to play that third game, but I think I'm happy to call it a 2-0 tonight. If I don't know if that's what your vibe. And Twitch chat, anybody in Twitch chat want to see the third game? If you want to see the third game,
call.
We need you to pop off right now in the Twitch chat for us.
All 19 of you.
Yeah. We need make your voice heard, make your opinion known.
Speak now or forever hold your peace. Yeah. In holy matrimony.
I really would like to know a little bit more consistently in advance, of these matches, if they are, because it's inconsistent, right? Because sometimes they are actually best of series as opposed to blocks, so you can just never really.
This is the preseason, so people have to get a certain number of games in, so it's more likely for it to be a block, but it would be nice. Looks like one person would like to see a third game.
We have a vote for yes. I think one vote is probably enough, isn't it, Abba?
It technically is the majority.
I didn't see any no votes. So, yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
All right, we are going to go into one more short break. Then we can go ahead and bring you guys that third game. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back.
I am the majority.
be back as soon as my Discord works and I can send us to break. Okay, we'll be right back. All right, everybody. Welcome back once again for our Game 3 draft of tonight's 3-block between Planetary Collision, Esports, Uranus, and the Glacial Mafia. Glacial Mafia back over to the red side now. The Planetary Colliders, it seems, are remaining on the blue side. They were on the blue side in the previous game, correct? Yes, they were. No, they were not. They were not. They were on the red side. They wanted the counter pick. That's right.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
right.
that is right.
They have now elected to move back over to the blue side as it was in game number 1. Now we will see the Mafia back onto red. Ash, going to be the option on B1 this time around. The players are a little bit out of order in the lobby right now, but I assume we are going into the same positions once we get onto Summoner's Rift. So this will be the Ashe for Katsuna, presumably down there in the bot lane.
Or they're allowed to rearrange their champions. Jin in response. This is particularly interesting. Okay, so Ashe has some pretty good harassment with volley and the slow, which kind of counteracts Jin. But the big thing here is curtain call. You don't move with curtain call, which makes it really easy to get hit by Ashe's ultimate and Enchanted Crystal Arrow, which just stops it. So you have to be very careful with positioning because you will know exactly where you are. It's just a big X marks the spot with that. So you got to be very careful with that. Oh, I saw some love and hate for Graves. Looks like
Graves
on the board. It's on there.
Yeah, I saw somebody calling for the Graves. I think that somebody may have been one of the players from one of the teams. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm a little bit suspicious there. But regardless, somebody is excited about Graves, and he is absolutely locked in here for the Glacial Mafia, so that is fantastic. The toe ranking, going to be pulling out their third unique pick tonight, was, of course, the Maokai in game number 1, and then into the Lee Sin, and now the Graves. Braum going to come out now for Planetary Collision. Dim going to be piloting the Braum down there alongside the Ashe. Very nice Freljordian duo.
Yeah, maybe we'll get a Sejuani top as well, or jungle.
Love that, yeah.
Or
we can even, we have a Nivea that could come into the mid lane here.
That's true. We could get for an all Freljord team, and they work pretty well together. In all honesty,
it's not too bad. You know, with the all the CC, all the slows, crowd control can look pretty good, but going to change things up on us.
Yeah, going to the Shadow Isles with Viego, trying to get some nice resets here. I mean, that is a winning strategy. If you kill the person with the most items and take their items, you get to use them.
Yeah. And Vertical Freljord is not too good right now, I think, anyway. So, you want to get another trade in there for sure. And I see the Viego come in. A little bit of a more aggressive option for Woolen this time around. I mean, I guess we could say that the Nocturne is aggressive in a manner of speaking, but he also kind of wants to be playing around his team, right? Viego, I feel like, has more agency in trying to look for things that he can set up for himself.
Yeah, he's just really looking for those resets for his team. Set up and then resets. That's what his team is, and Braum and Ashe help with that. And, of course, they can take over the game themselves. So, good synergy to go with it. Mafia's composition so far has been good setups as well. Jin can follow up on a lot of stuff. Graves and Orianna can help set up each other with just being able to pull people, the dashes, the grit, and all of that. All very potent as well. I will highlight that Rakan, Xerath, and Maokai have been banned. Some pretty problematic champions for Uranus right now. And I think the Mafia bans have been pretty standard all in all between the games. I haven't been talking about them as much, but there's the Ziggs ban for game 1.
Yeah. Ziggs making an appearance on the ban list there. Nice to shout that out. Yeah, I haven't really had time to talk about the bans too much. You know, we are seeing from Planetary Collision, they're banning out a lot of things that were played against them earlier on in the night, actually exclusively things that were played against them earlier on. As 4 out of 5 bans, it seems, going to be headed in that direction. So now we're going to come out here for their 5th.
Yeah, it could just be a bad matchup against them for Gnar, so that could be a hint as to what they might be thinking for their top laner here. Someone who can get abused by a little bit of range onto their top side, or just someone who can stick onto them as a bit of a bruiser.
We are extraordinarily squishy right now on the side of Glacial Mafia. We have 0 frontline of any kind. And we're against Viego Ashe, so there's nobody to soak up those arrows. Nobody to face check for Viegos in bushes. Seems a little hairy.
That's certainly true. Elisandra, another Freljord, ironically enough.
Oh.
There's some tombs there as well. A lot of CC and follow up. Pretty good mobility all in all. And Braum can jump to her as well, which can really help further that chain. That being said, Mafia's harassment might not need to check some bushes. Oriana's Q has like over 1,000 range. It's like 1,100 or something. Zyra's plants can help with that as well. Jin W also pretty long range as well. So maybe they're just trying to go with, I'm just going to be in the stratosphere, super far away, different screen. Going to do the Xerath strategy and just nuke you. But
Yeah, I mean, it could work. It's more difficult to make that work when
it,
kind of all of the champions in your team are trying to do that all at the same time. Generally you want a
yeah,
little bit more variety in your approach, but we'll see
yep.
how it goes for them.
Oh, there's Mundo. Okay, that is very helpful. One thing I do have to point out for Mafia, this early Jin pick, Jin is terrible into tanks. And they have a Braum who's good against that fourth shot because of that shield. And then Cho'Gath, also just a very dummy, thick, primordial buoy that Jin will have a very hard time getting through. Not good against tanks. The Viego, the Lissandra, the Ashe, yeah, fourth shot, gonna be perfect. Not those characters, it's going to be a lot harder because you might only be able to get one off, and you're probably going to be hitting the tanks early on unless you get a really good pick.
Yeah, definitely. It's really interesting, Abba, because I'm looking at these comps and it feels like they are almost opposites of one another. These teams have kind of been drafting in a
Yeah.
disparate ways continuously throughout the night. In the last game we had playmaking and sort of engage versus the full scaling. This time around we have more of like we've got 4 damage threats. So we've got this like full damage, like mid-range aggro comp versus like all of the CC and frontline and like this incredible amount of setup in this game for PCU. But I'm a little bit worried they might be actually missing a little bit of damage over there on that side.
Well, the other thing to consider is, what was it, game 2 with the game with the Jacks, right? They had all this damage split up for Uranus, but they had no tank, and this is kind of what Mafia is doing as well. So they kind of swapped, kind of like you were saying, in their composition styles.
Yeah, it definitely does feel really interesting. It'll be we'll have to track where the Mundo pleases to go in this game, right? Because that will determine a lot of the flow, I think, for Glacial Mafia in terms of what they're playing for and how, right? Because it's going to be really, really hard for them to team fight, I think, in this game. Honestly, just in general, against what PCU have, like just any kind of team fight on remotely even footing feels really, really dangerous for this Glacial Mafia team. But it is somewhat more manageable if they do have the Mundo with them to try to act as that front line. So,
I think the strategy for Mafia here is just to harass them. They've got Zyra and Ori on it just to dish out damage from a distance, just harass them and make things difficult. If it's a 5v5, everyone's at full health. We know who wins that. It should be Uranus, provided the scores even and whatnot. But Mafia, if they can utilize their range advantage, that really does help give them an edge.
Yeah, definitely. And we are relatively short range on the other side, right? With the exception of the Ashe ultimate. So, that is something that they can try to play around, but it does feel very high execution, right? So, we'll have to wait and see. I do wonder if maybe it's just Glacial Mafia in this third game kind of drafting to test themselves, right? Or to try and make future opponents consider this style of aggro draft as a possibility. We saw the first 2 games tonight where they seemed to definitively be the better team, at least for today. So trying to play a composition that is a little bit more of a high execution floor, I think does make some sense in that context.
You're talking about like it's super hard to execute, but you got to remember these are also high-end players too, so they're able to get some of that execution. Play patient, play smart. Both teams have done it. Might not look like it in the scoreboard as much, but both teams have been playing pretty smart, all in all together. But we'll have to see how things play out, if the thickness that PCU is going to have, or if the GM is going to be able to just stick it out and harass them in some of these fights.
You have a prediction for game 3, Abba? You want to get in there? Are you putting some channel points on this one? What's up?
Well, if I put channel points and I can't claim the prediction to settle
That's true.
If I did not see the first 2 games, I think PCU has a good chance at winning this, has the edge. I just think Mafia is overall the better team on how it's operated. They've just been very together and making a lot of good plays. And even when they're behind, they felt like they still have a lot more agency than when PCU did at that same sort of deficit level.
Yeah, I think I can say, at least for myself, this is my favorite draft out of the three for Uranus, so far tonight. So we'll see if it's going to be enough to get them this first win, their first win of season 17, right? Still on the hunt for that one. Mafia able to pick up 2 so far. As tonight was the first outing onto the red for both squads this season. See if Uranus can get themselves something to work with here as we move into the back half of week 2. Our third game tonight of the block, guys, hitting those monitors right after one more short break. All right, everybody. Sorry about the delay there. We did have some technical difficulties trying to get everything set up here for game number 3, but hopefully things are coming through all right and we have all of that sorted out for us. It is, of course, going to be Planetary Collision now back on that red side. And we do have Glacial Mafia back onto the blue. No, I'm wrong. Planetary Collision's on the blue side. Glacial Mafia's on the red.
Exactly, right there. Yep. I mean, we did have to spend a little bit of time reordering because they didn't line up correctly. So it'd be easier for our viewers to follow, and of course, us in the casting booth, the spectators booth. That being said, we finally get to see some grasp on grasp action onto the top side, trying to stay nice and healthy. And there isn't any cheese. We did not see people stack to try and get that early kill or an early flash. So that's already changing this game up. We'll have to see if that's enough to change how the game's going to end up.
No, I mean, we did see God Gamer and Amanda walking into that tri-brush for, potentially a little bit of action. Didn't really end up coming through. Braum just chucked a Q at him and everybody walked away. But, yeah, there was some potential there.
Yeah, cheese is cheese.
It just turns out that cheese was like, it was like...
It was blue cheese. No one really wanted it.
I was going to go more in like the shredded cheese direction, whereas is like not a substantial amount of cheese. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Yeah, that works too.
No, but I mean, in terms of like personal cheese preferences, I mean that also, that then becomes more a question of like, how do you prefer your level ones? It becomes almost like a broader question about like preferred, strategies and gameplay choices. Anyways. We are seeing our junglers starting once again on opposite sides of the map, as they have been doing all night long. This time we are going to get the Graves, the toe ranking, pathing up towards this top lane. Flex account now on the Mundo. Has the R5 Mundo getting pushed in a little bit to start this game number 3 off.
Yeah, just to look at this HP exchange here, and with the passive already being procced once and all these grasp stacks, it makes things a little bit more difficult for them as well. They're going to be able to regain some of this as well. That being said, the mana situations in the mid lane is getting a little unhealthy, and with the way Viego is sitting into the bot side, Woolen might be able to get a nice setup here as well, provided that Katsuna is going to be able to get any sort of slow. So it looks like they're not going to be able to. They got a nice defensive shallow river ward.
Yeah, certainly. We do have some river wards on scattered throughout here from both teams. There's a little bit of a vision on both sides. Both junglers actually getting spotted out right now. We should have some knowledge that those scuttle crabs are being traded off.
Yeah. No early scuttle crab cheese like there was in the previous game where they just kind of sat in the bush and were able to catch people out. They are still split up amongst one another, and no kills have happened at the 4-minute mark. Still pretty even in gold right now, which is good to see. No major CS leads other than in the mid lane here, where July 8 is up against their opponent here, but that makes sense.
On the Orianna here, very, very powerful pick right now that we've been seeing at Worlds so far. Just had a whole bunch of buffs over the course of this year and has found herself in a very powerful position. And July 8 has been a very powerful player so far over the course of the night. So very exciting to see what they're going to be able to do on the Clockwork Lady.
They've been able to play artillery mages fairly consistent throughout the night, been able to get a very early Dark Seal, which is transitioned into a high stacked Magi's. That's all you could hope for out of that champion pool.
Yeah, absolutely. Manager's going to get tagged by a Winter's Bite there, but not going to feel too upset about it. Just a little bit of chilly, but still getting enough sunlight for the plants for now,
Yeah, a little bit chilly, hard for them to grow, but with the lanes being pushed up as much as they are, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for her to get some of that harassment because there's going to be minions in the way, and they do not want to take that farm away from their AD carry.
Lemon Poet getting a little bit feisty up here in the top lane. Gonna fairly scream at the Doctor as he wanders back underneath his turret. Level 6 for the Cho'Gath taking over here. Not sure, quite sure how close the Mundo is at the moment. Probably not too far off.
Yeah, and they're hungry for some kills first with the Tom Kent, and now with the Cho'Gath. They really, really want to get those kills, those games under their belt.
Different player, of course, but yes, I certainly get your point. Chemtech Dragon start us off this game. Now, that might have a little bit of a slower start in terms of that dragon stacking. People tend to not really be too excited about killing Chemtech Dragons.
Chemtech Dragon, the extra healing might be nice, especially with these HP stacking champions onto the top side. It also helps with some shield generation as well, which Orianna provides. And I think that's it, who just has shields in their kit. Because Braum has a shield, but it does not give shielding to it. It's just straight up damage reduction there.
Does he get a little bit of a shield when he uses W as well? Or is it just the resist?
Oh, I think it's just resist. So I'll have to keep my eye out.
Well, he does have the Guardian, so that definitely gives a
shield.
Oh,
yeah, Guardian. Yeah, that's definitely a shield there as well. I forgot about that. Good catch.
Should have taken the barrier as well. Missed opportunity.
Yeah, missed opportunity. Well, you can't predict the early
That's right. That's right. It really is just unlucky there.
Now, we're 7 minutes into this game. Dragon certainly is something more to be on this menu, and it looks like Woolen is trying to get up a nice dive.
Oh, yeah, here he comes. There's the Lissandra over the wall. Oh, flashes in for the double ring of frost, and that is going to be the CC that sets up for the Viego to come in and pick up that first kill. First blood over to... Who's on the blue side again? It's Planetary Collision, right?
Planetary Collision,
why is that so hard for me? Oh,
so, dude, if I don't look at Twitch chat every once in a while to see which one's which, I do get it mixed up when people switch teams and everything.
That's our first time watching both of these squads, right? It's early on in the season. Don't know them yet. Sorry, guys. I'll remember who's on what team in a couple of weeks, okay? Promise.
Yeah, we're still getting kind of warmed up. We had that nice little break from when the finals happened last season. But getting back into this game here, it looks like we're getting more of a brawl into the jungle.
Yeah, Dim going to be able to stand beside his AD carries. Katsuna kiting back, able to get some decent damage into the God Gamer. And now the Braum stacks up onto the ranking of Toe. That's going to be God Gamer going down first, but the Braum has been traded back in Katsuna. Oh, going to flash, but still going to get a little bit of a vine to the face there as Amanda actually picking up the last hit on the Ashe. So looks decent for a second as Katsuna and Dim were able to fight back. Oh, and in comes Woolen, actually gets the kill on the jungler, steals away the objective. Huge for the side of Planetary Collision, and has the reset actually on the Heartbreaker as well. Does he want to go underneath the turret for this one? I don't know if he will go underneath the turret to get the kill onto the support. Does trade himself for that one, though.
No shutdown gold, surprisingly, being 3-1 at that point. Didn't get flagged quite soon enough, it looks like.
Yeah, shutdown coming up after the Viego is already in the death chamber. Not quite sure. Oh my goodness. That Lemon Poet just flashed on him. He barely lives the turret. How much health? What happened?
Minion. A minion. I think he procced a minion.
No.
Stepped too far forward there. So both teams have made some pretty interesting mistakes, we'll call them. Of course, the 2-for-1 trade was exactly what they needed for the Dragon side on GM side, but they tried to overextend, take the Dragon, just like they're doing right now.
That's just going to be a dead Orianna. And July 8 is getting picked on a little bit early now. If we get the mid lane situation to be substantially different than what it was in the previous couple of games, this could look very different.
This is the first time ranking of Telos had to fix a wave, I believe, in this set. Like a player just died and he had to show up to catch the gold, otherwise they were just going to lose it.
Yeah. Oh, that's a nice crystal arrow. Is going to connect onto the Zyra, but the Tanglethorn's coming out in response. There's so much CC onto the Ashe. Katsuna will be able to get back underneath the tier 1, as that was a trade of ultimates, I suppose. 2-for-1, though, actually in favor of Glacial Mafia, getting the 2 ultimates for just the 1 of the Zyra.
Yeah, I was expecting Curtain Call there to try and stop the back and try and proc it with the shield being down recently, and they could just walk away with the wave being shoved. But it looks like they're saving it for another day.
Yeah. Not quite sure. God Gamer, just anticipating a rainy day coming up or something. Just
Yeah.
has a feeling. It's in the air, maybe. But potentially an Ocean Soul that we have here for game 3.
Something I want to highlight here, that Hawkshot trying to find where the jungler is, seeing that the only Krugs on the top side is available, giving them a pretty good picture. Oh, hold that thought.
Now the curtain will be called, and Katsuna does not have anybody here to
Ooh.
hold the door up, and that is going to be every single shot landing for the God Gamer. 1, 2, 3, 4. Count them up. What's the score? It's 2-1, 2-1 rather for the God Gamer.
Might not be that way anymore.
And Woolen closing in on this Viego. The cleanse will come out, and the Zyra E is beautiful, but won't be enough to save Amanda's life. The Heartbreaker will come out, and that's Woolen getting one back.
Able to protect the AD carry there and the bounty with it. Super
Shockwave in the mid lane. Glacial Tomb, well timed from Cappuccino, staying alive for now. The collateral damage not quite enough to get the kill, but the command attack will be, as July 8 going underneath the turret for that one, but will be absolutely successful. The Crystal Arrow will connect. In comes Woolen. Will the stun wear off in time? July 8 trying to get away. Flashes over the wall to try and survive. Woolen with the flash follow. Doesn't have the ultimate, though. Maybe in trouble now as Ranking of Toe dashing forward. The Viego overstepping, getting shut down. And that's going to be number 1 for the Toe ranks here in game numero 3.
So the kill advantage was favoring PCU. The gold was still pretty even because of some of the CS deficits, despite them having the advantage of the top side. The mid side and jungle have just had the lead that they need. Now the bot side has also had it. And even though it's 7-7 now, I have to do the opposite of what I was going to point out before all this action. 2,000 gold lead favoring GM, the team that has been doing oh so well in this block of 3. We already see 4 mythic items versus the 2 on PCU here. I will point out, because of the massive lead that Woolen had, they did get that Trinisphere. Not Trinisphere. This is not Magic the Gathering. Trinity Force.
Yeah, he did get that.
Gosh.
And that is a great item here for the Viego in this game. You have all these squishy targets, so being able to have that, not only the extra damage, but the extra move speed as well to try and stick on them can be very, very valuable. But also worth mentioning, the Ghost Blade over there for Toe ranking. Buffed on this patch. We have a flash forward. It's the Engage Braum coming out from Dim in the bot lane. Unsuccessful, though.
Arrow missed.
Yeah, God Gamer, though, stepping up a little bit, getting slowed down now by these arrows. And the Winter's Bite as well is going to get locked down. Just walking back up into range there after flashing away. Gives over that kill, but in the bot side river, it's going to be July and Ranking of Toe pushing back the mid-jungle of Planetary Collision as Cappuccino gets taken down once again, flashing in, Ranking of Toe behind the door, gets in right on top of that Ash, finishes off the kill, but the concussive blows stacked up. Woolen gets that kill in response. Heartbreaker forward, the stun comes through, the kill onto support, a triple picked up now by the jungler for PCU. Signs of life, but they ended up losing. I think they're Braum on the back end of that play as well. Very messy down there in the bot lane, as now it's the top laners turn to go at it. Maximum dosage will come out from the flex count. Knows he cannot get down into that execute range, or he is going to get feasted on. Just barely will have enough move speed and enough healing to get the distance. Now, potentially thinking about turning this one around. Flex count wanting to walk back up, landing some bone saws here is the good doctor. He has perhaps prescribed this Cho'Gath some bad tasting medicine. Lemon Poet does still have the ultimate and the flash. Couple of bone saws going wide now, and flex count's just going to back away.
Yeah, that last fight down in the bot side was a 3-for-3, but the resets, all of this gold is being funneled into Woolen here, and we finally get to see how potent they are. Hold the phone. Curtain call on the top side.
Lemon Post slowed up, flashed away. The third shot, or maybe it was the fourth, I'm not entirely sure. It will connect. God Gamer gets that kill. It's going to be a double as he lines it up onto Cappuccino as well. The Crystal Arrow will come out, but will not find the target as Graves going back into that enemy jungle to clean up the support and looking to secure himself a nice little cherry on top in the form of a blue buff.
Yeah, excellent pickup here, and this roam makes way more sense here when you consider the fact Mid lane tower was down. They were switching over their AD carry there just because it's a little bit more favorable for them to that matchup, being Cappuccino's pretty weak
Oh,
right now. And we just saw how strong July 8 is. They were able to take out that Ashe, being they have that Turk seal we've been oh so familiar with in this block right now, and they have their Mythic as well.
it's going to be 3 out of 3 games for July 8 with the Magi's
Yeah.
stacked up.
Early Dark Seal, not as early as some of the other games, but still fairly early able to get that stacked.
But again, we do have realistically a fairly close game on our hands here. You know, it is a 3K gold lead for the side of Glacial Mafia, so they are definitely feeling good about their position, but still playing in this one as Lemon Poet, not feeling as good about his current position, as just going to get taken down. Doctor prescribes death. Toe ranking, though, in trouble. Dashes away from the Winter's Bite. Collateral damage. Try and create space, but can't get far enough away in time. And it will be Woolen able to close that distance and get himself number 9. This Viego really popping off for PCU. Feels like it's all on the jungle player that they're going to try and come back and get themselves a win tonight.
The Enchanted Crystal Arrow missed there. They weren't able to quite get the setup. That would have been a 10th kill for them at 17 minutes, which would have been pretty impressive, but that's not going to be the case here. Able to stay safe into the mid lane, try and get some more farm onto this Jhin, who's going the lethality build rather than some sort of crit build here, despite it being slightly nerfed, a lot of these lethality items. So we'll have to see how well it's paying off. It looks like it's doing pretty well, being he has 4 kills, the holy number for all Jhin mains.
That's true. Yeah, he actually doesn't want to get any more kills this game, does he? It's going to be assists only from now on.
Oh my gosh, that Cleaver doing so much damage. Have you been to Jin's Discord?
No.
It's amazing.
Like there's Discord.
There's several channels dedicated to the number 4. Well, they'll make the number 4 out of the number 4. It's amazing. It's the best shitpost site I've ever been onto. Highly recommended if you play Jhin at all.
You heard it here, guys. All you Jhin players out there, go check it out. But as for this particular game, the Jhin is, yes, doing pretty well. Definitely meaningfully ahead of Katsuna's Ashe at the moment. And this Orianna starting to get a little bit more dangerous, also closing in towards that second item. Going to be the Archangel Staff for the Orianna eventually, as the Collector does come through for the God Gamer.
Yeah, with the kind of advantage that they have right now, pretty important. They really want to get some of this gold out
2 items,
on
everybody.
These champions. 2 items, Blade of the Rune King, finally onto Roland as well. If he's not able to get these resets, it's all on him. That's where their advantage is. And if he gets picked or is stuck in between a rock and a hard place, it'll be difficult for them. Fortunately for them, they have a 2-dragon lead. It hasn't worked for them so far, but this might be the game with a strong jungler who has some pretty powerful resets. Oh no.
Infernal Dragon this time around. Enchanted Crystal Arrow will go pretty far wide, as Glacial Fisher will also not connect. And now the Curtain call in response to try and punish July 8 moving forward. The Shockwave not going to be utilized just yet. Won't be needed to take down the mid laners. Katsuna flashing away, trying to stay alive, but Mundo pleases to go forward. He's on the chase, but Graves flashing in a little bit too far. Gives over the first reset to the Viego, but the Trogath has already been taken down, and the Viego will not be able to survive either. The Graves was too squishy. He hopped into that Graves body and immediately got popped, so it is going to be 3-for-1 team fight in favor of the Glacial Mafia in the mid lane.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the grit stacks, to my knowledge, do not transfer over whenever you take over a Graves corpse. So that tower punish is going to be happening there as well. And with most of their damage being gone, they can't do any of the follow-up. And their setup from Enchanted Crystal Arrow is also gone because Katsuna missed that. So this should be Dragon for them, especially if they can get 4th shot. It's a good execute, but they might be getting caught out here.
They did get the Dragon, but the Glacial path forward. The Cleanse comes out from the God Gamer, but doesn't have Flash. Is going to get locked down here. Does not have a way out. And the shutdown given over to Katsuna closes that gap between the AD carries significantly.
Yeah, no need to clench there. There's so many people on top of them. they were going to get caught unless they insta-cleansed it even faster than they already did. There's no chance.
Seemed difficult for sure. Lemon Poet able to back away from this one. Gromp was stolen away by the toe ranking. Dodges away from that crystal arrow as well, but there's too many members here. They're going to be able to burst down that Graves again right away. This Mundo is going to get taken down as well. July 8th is here. Just used the shockwave for some good damage. Kiting this one out. Dodges away from the Winter's Bite, but Cappuccino now here on the flank as well. The Oriana only has one ball, and there's so many enemies here. She can't take down all of them. And in the end, July 8th has teleported in just to offer over another kill. Really huge now for Planetary Collision in this top lane, picking up a few shutdowns for themselves.
And removing Dark Seal stacks as well, which is pretty important to consider as well. They were just in a little bit too deep. They're almost getting some of those kills, but horseshoes and hand grenades, not going to be enough here. They don't have the execute for that. So fortunately for them, they're handing over that gold. Now, that Rift Herald was timing out, so being placed into the bot lane, it looks like that's where it's going to be going, not the mid lane. Sometimes there's a bit of coin flip which side it goes to. And we'll be pushing it with Dr. Mundo. Baron is at play here, and Ace does not have his teleport here, so he's not going to be able to rotate to any of these fights. And Poet isn't as either. So this is most likely going to be a 4v4, especially considering both mid laners are also missing it. So fighting for mid and top priority is going to be important.
Katsuna was actually just in the bot lane as well. So numbers advantage definitely in favor of Glacial Mafia up here on the top side of the map for now. You see the Ashe moving back up. And the Hawkshot come out to get some vision. We'll be able to spot out that Graves dashes over the wall to keep himself safe.
I can't believe I didn't point this out. Glacial Mafia is not playing the Freljord champion to this matchup.
Oh, true. Yeah, that does seem a little bit off-brand for them. But, you know, I think the point of this Game 3 draft, again, was just to show that they've got some variety, right? So they want to show some other stuff here. Just because their home is the Freljord doesn't mean that they can't visit other places, you know?
True. It looks like they have the mid wave under control. They're pushing it on top side and bot side. So just map priority, if you will, as they're trying to get vision for this Baron, not necessarily setting it up right now. It's a little risky for them to do that. They don't quite have the damage for it. They don't want to get caught out with how squishy they are.
Yeah, definitely. With a composition with as little frontline as this, right? If you actually do commit to that Baron, your health bars are going to take a little bit of a beating. So you need to make sure absolutely that there is no chance of the enemy team running up on you while you are taking that Baron.
Maybe if this Jhin was like a Jinx or something who auto-attacks and is faster and does a little bit more damage to objectives consistently, that might have been an easier play for them to make, but Jhin is not the way to do that.
Yeah, certainly not. I agree. It's going to be a very, very slow Baron. You know, Zyra can do some work there, but the rest of these champs just don't take it that quickly. That was very quick as ranking of toe on the full lethality Graves just one pop that Lysandra.
Yeah, acting like the Shotgun King, they're taking him out. Holy cow. Ultimate's going to be down, but it's already a quarter of the way refilled, so certainly going to be reloading that soon.
That lethality Graves build's got a lot of ability haste in there as well. Lemon Poet has found a rupture onto the Zyra, who is going to have to flash away. Was getting feasted on there, but will manage to survive. And the Cho'Gath will not. So, you know, you got to respect it from Lemon Poet. Kind of knew that he was likely dead there no matter what, so try to take one with him.
It was a good try. I thought it was going to happen when I heard it, and then it didn't. I was like, oh no, that's a feels bad moment. Still a good try from them. We'll have to see if we can get a reset off of Woolen here in this upcoming fight. If they can't, it's not going to be good for them. Oh, no.
Ooh, rooted up by the deadly flourish. Able to dash away from the Graves for now. And Dim with the defense going down extremely low. Though the Glacial Fisher trying to create enough space. Command attacks not going to find the mark. But there's a Mundo cutting off the retreat path. And that is going to be another kill now going the way of the Glacial Mafia. They get the pick. and now they move back to the objective. The dragon surely will be theirs.
Yeah, unfortunately for Toe, they ulted just as Mundo was auto-attacking there. We'll have to see if Glacial is going to try and go for this Baron as a trade. It looks like they're not able to take it fast enough, and
Seems
their
good.
opponent just took Dragon too fast here. This teleport, a bit risky.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he is Mundo, so at the very least, he'll be able to survive for a while, but he's going to have to flash away. Still going to get hit by that Enchanted Crystal Arrow, and the CC is just way too much. That is the strength of this composition, but the fight's not over just yet. That is an incredible amount of damage that come out. I believe that was the Shockwave. It was actually just the Jin Force
It was like the Jin W. It was the W.
Oh my god, that's insane. Amanda, though, having to try and get away from this Cho'Gath, does have the feast, gonna flash forward, does get it, but once again, the Cho'Gath is gonna go down for that one. July 8th has just flashed over the wall, looking for a couple of more command attacks. Woolen, though, flashing away from the Shockwave, and that's gonna be a kill onto the mid laner. Absolutely huge for Planetary Collision. Now they are the ones up in the team fight, 3 for 2 for PCU. And this game is not over yet.
It's not over. More importantly, it has crossed the 25-minute mark. A first in this block.
Yeah, great point. Both of those previous games ended around 25 minutes in favor of Glacial Mafia. So PCU with a better performance here in game 3. Love to see it.
And Anathema's changed here is also on Woolen, who I don't think it specifically says who it's on, so I'm gonna have to take a quick gander to see who it's on. I have some guesses. Oh, it looks like it's going to be on July 8th, I believe. Or it's not been used at all. No, it has not been used at all from what I can tell.
I do think that the selection of July 8th would make some sense. It has been kind of the strongest performer tonight so far for the side of Glacial Mafia, and the Orianna does scale extremely well. So trying to mitigate some of that damage and get
the range.
Yeah, too, absolutely.
Right? Because, I mean, you could do it on Toe as well, who's playing Lethality Graves. We all know how that feels when it's ahead.
Right.
When they're 8-5, they're still got 8 kills.
Absolutely.
And 2 Inferno Drakes, too. Don't forget about that.
Potential to stack up even more. We do still have a little bit of time before that really does become an option for the side of Glacial Mafia. The Baron, certainly an option right now if they would like to go for it. July 8th, though, potentially getting caught out here off on the side. The flash in for the Lissandra gets the triple root with the Ring of Frost, but there's no follow-up. The Baron will go over. Cho'Gath desperately trying to get in there for the feast, but not able to get off the ultimate in time. And it's an absolute slaughter in the pit. Oh, dear. Planetary Collision. They were just a little bit too late to the party, and they all funnel into the meat grinder.
I love how well GM played this year. They understood that the Baron was super low and that they needed to prioritize that, get it, and they immediately swapped targets. It's exactly what they needed to do. Meanwhile, the opposing team, PCU, split some damage upon the carries that were a little bit further out and the people in the pit. And because that damage was split, no one ended up dying there. So that ace is going to be taking the game. Good game. It was so much closer. Every game, PCU improved. And that is what you want to be seeing in this series.
Yeah, that is certainly true, Abba. I like that you highlight that for us. You bring up the silver lining to kick off the post-game discussion here, because you're absolutely right. The PCU squad tonight did look progressively better over the course of the evening. In that last game, it was so tragic. I mean, that was such a great fight for them. They had a couple of really good fights leading up to that moment where the Baron just got snuck away from them. Their legs got swept out from underneath them. Yeah. And they just lost the game in an instant there. I mean, really, you just got to give props to Glacial Mafia for the really decisive shot calling there at the end.
And that's when it's super tense. Like, that's when a lot of people end up throwing it, and they knew exactly what to do. And also, PCU also made the correct play, in my opinion. If they were going to win a play like that, it was going to be there. They were going to get some Viego resets, and it was going to reset how this was going to go, or at least delay a lot of the damage, because they might have had a Baron, or at least got a lot of Baron buffs away from their opponents, as well as some shutdowns and some gold and some breathing room, even though they were still down 6,000 gold in a very high elo game.
Yeah, yeah, but ultimately they did not get that chance, Abba. In the end, it was Glacial Mafia, who were clearly the better squad tonight, getting the best of their opponents in all 3 games. Who was your player of the block tonight, Abba? I mean, I think there's a pretty clear front runner after games 1 and 2, but maybe game 3 swayed you a little bit in another direction. What are you thinking?
It's a toss up between Toe and July 8. I think we both know that. I think July 8 just consistently did a little bit better than Toe, but Toe certainly set up a lot of those plays.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
do think
so
that
hard.
Toe is absolutely deserving of a lot of credit tonight. Was clearly the engine in the early game, right? Was very, very active in the early game. Really, I think across all 3 games. Had the Maokai into the Lee Sin into the into the Lee Sin into the Graves here in game 3. And even the Graves, who I feel like is kind of the more scaling option out of those 3, he was still playing aggressively, right? Still looking for angles in those lanes early on, and was very successful, for the most part. But my vote, I think, would have to go towards July 8th. Was just so dominant in the team fights, and like getting set up in the early game is great, but then it does come down to the execution. And I felt like July 8th's execution was just a cut above kind of everybody else in the lobby, honestly, tonight.
I'm gonna agree with you for a couple of reasons. They hard won their lane every time. They never had to worry about the opposing mid lane. The second thing I want to highlight is they consistently did well and performed exactly what they needed to. Ranking Toe obviously did well, but in that Lee Sin game when they needed to be strong super early, they were never like super far ahead where they would want to be. And with that Graves game, they were like 8-5, 9-5. There's 5 deaths is still a considerable amount. So I think that's something to factor in there as well. I mean, obviously July 8 died 4 times that game, but those were their only deaths, I think, for the set.
Yeah, it was really strong from the mid lane here. I'm pretty sure they were deathless in game 2, if I recall correctly. At least towards the end of that game, I remember like a 7-0 or an 8-0 Syndra.
They might have had one other death where they got picked up, but it was really low.
I feel like there was at least one death on the Xerath, but I honestly don't really remember. So you could convince me either way. But I mean, yeah, it was a great performance across the board for Mafia. Is there anything else that you wanted to add here, Abba? Any other thoughts before we close out the stream for tonight?
Remember to follow, subscribe, Style Esports. You can watch these teams grow, and we do have some tournaments coming up, so it'll be exciting to watch. It's always fun to watch to see how these teams come out at the end. When they're a little bit more practiced, they come out of the preseason and there's money on the line. More importantly, that's when you see them lean forward and really try hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Still early on in the season here, so these teams are going to be taking some time to refine their play styles, adapt the strategy, build that synergy between the players, assuming they haven't played together before in different leagues or what have you. So certainly an exciting point in the season, and we should have a lot more matches getting streamed coming up as well. We tend to have a lot going on here towards the beginning of the seasons. I don't see anything in the schedule right now, but definitely, guys, keep those eyes and ears open for more Style Esports content coming up in the near future. But Abba, wonderful to be back here with you as always to help kick off season 17. Thank you to both of our teams for some entertaining gameplay tonight. Congrats again to Glacial Mafia on securing the 3-0. Tonight's 3 block looking really, really scary coming into season 17 here. That's going to do it for us tonight. From myself, from Abba, from the entire production team at Style. Thank you, everybody, very, very much for watching. Have a great night. We will see you next time.